Good evening, Dude79 here. Just doing a quick mic check to make sure the audio levels sound good so I don't fuck up the show again like last time.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Glad to have you here.
Tone's really excited for y'all to be here. We're really excited to be here. We're not at the studio. We are not at home base. We're at the new home base.
That's right.
We are at Koi's Comics, and we'll be going live in just a moment. Thanks, buddy. Welcome to another edition of Banter and Babble. I'm the Dude79, and joining me always, my esteemed colleague, Mr. Fanboytone. Mr. Fanboytone? What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot, dude.
Once again, we are raiding Koi's Comics, and this time Brandy and Steve aren't even here. We just broke in.
Yeah, they've been home for a while, so we just cracked in through the door, and
they have no idea. We just waltzed in, turned all the lights on.
Yeah.
We're gonna get first picks in a lot of these comics, and just assume that it's cool.
could always kick them off the racks too. That'd be really sweet.
Yeah, who would do such a thing? Only a big clumsy idiot would be moving around by the camera and knock a bunch of comics off the rack. Only a complete idiot.
Piece of shit, probably.
Probably a huge piece of shit. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully everyone's having themselves a fine Wednesday. It has been a week.
It has been a week, 2 weeks. It's been a lot of things for a while, honestly.
It has been just chaotic in all aspects of life. But as always, Wednesday nights, man. It's just a time to like kind of just get away from all that, crack a couple beers, talk about all the nerdy shit that we love, that y'all love, and we appreciate each and every one of you that tunes in every week to hang out to talk about the stuff that we're going to talk about. Boots is in the chat. 7 Dungeons is here. Brian MX is in there. What's going on, y'all? Hopefully everyone's doing good, Tom. But what's up with you, man? What's the word?
Man, not a whole lot. I just feel like it's nonstop. Like, you know, the pedal is to the metal, nonstop foot on the gas. Like, I just feel like the last few weeks, work's been crazy. I feel like I've got so much things to do after work with basement things, and just like every night I'm doing something, even if it's for an hour or two. Oh yeah. It just feels like there's not a break. And now we're back into good weather. That means we got to mow our fucking lawns all the time.
Has this been good weather? Because it's been cold.
It's been fucking Michigan. We went from like 80 degrees one day. Remember, like last week it was like 60 degrees for most of the week, and then all of a sudden one day it's like, it's 90 degrees today. Like, what the fuck is it? I had to turn on the air conditioner for one day.
You turn the AC on?
Well, I didn't want to. I know, it's stupid. I know, I agree.
I've not cut ours on yet. I've been tough. AKA cheap.
Yeah, well,
I've been cheap.
That's why I don't like to turn it on.
I know. I'm cheap as hell, man. I'll keep all the windows open. It's when it gets really muggy is where I start to have an issue with it. That's where it starts to irk me a little bit.
Yeah, when you got suit pants.
I have suit pants. I have suit pants in the winter, though, so it doesn't,
yeah.
it's kind of a year-round
have Denny more beef stew in your pants 90% of the time.
He's not wrong.
It's true.
But, man, I wanted to ask you, dude, because we've seen some photos. How's the basement coming along?
It's coming. I just actually got a rug in today. I've set some money aside a while ago for like things that I need, and my biggest need right now are these fucking Detloff display cases that you can find here at Koi's as well too. The 4-sided glass, beautiful display things. But fucking IKEA can't keep these things in stock, so I can't get any of them. I need like 4 to 6 of them at least, potentially up to 8. So it's really frustrating because I can't display all my shit. Now, there's been some pictures getting kicked around on my Black Series set right now, which about half of it's displayed, very honestly, on a 9-foot gondola rack. So
I was going to say, man, when you showed me that one photo, it looked like in here, man, you had racks of stuff everywhere.
Insane.
It was like, it looks like an extension of Koi's.
Right, yeah.
Only they have cool shit here.
Right. Shut up. Like your basement's got a bunch of dillies, but no, I really need to. It's true. That 1960 brass one's pretty nice. So I just been working on that. Outside of buying little things here and there, that's really the big issue that's slowing me down are those Detloff things. But yeah, just trying to get everything organized, everything together. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm going to start hanging stuff up on the wall, and I think I've decided the first thing that's going to go up in the wall that I'm going to hang is a disc plate I bought during the pandemic, no doubt, for a really cheap price. Is a just a smaller disc plate, but it is certainly RoboCop getting out of his Ford.
Really?
So yeah, it's, that's going to be the first thing I'm putting up on the wall. I figure that respectfully it should be.
As it should be. Yeah. I mean, there's really no other way to do it. Yeah. Brandon Steve said those have been impossible to find.
Yeah. I check the website every day for them. I check for my emails because I said I signed up for the text and the emails on them. Can't get anything out of them. Nope. And they told me like early in this month, like, they'll be restocked by the 10th of May.
Oh, really? How's that working out?
Yeah, right.
We're what, plus 15 days from that? Awesome.
Jesus, yeah, it's insane. So who knows when they're going to be back in. Like I said, I'm prepared. Like as soon as I can get them, I'm going to buy them at the site, pull the trigger, go get them for pickup that following weekend, and be good. But I'm just waiting. Yeah,
it's coming together though, dude. That's the most important thing. Like every time you show a photo of the basement, it just or a video, it just looks better and better and better. And you're starting to finally see that. The end result of what you've been working towards, despite everything that you've gone through, you're still getting to that final destination, and that's fucking sweet.
It feels like 5 years. It feels like.
Hey man, it's gonna be worth it though. Once you're finally done, and then I come over and just like unscrew a pipe or something while you're sleeping.
Or you just walk by the display thing and kick it over, probably.
Probably, yeah. That's my thing, man. I'll just walk by and just knock shit off the wall. But
right.
What's up, Tricky Region? Josie Wells is in the chat. Crash 2187's here. What is going on, y'all?
What up, fam?
We are really excited, though, man. It's going to be another episode here at Koi's Comics. Brady and Steve are going to join us here shortly, or a little bit later. They had to run and do some stuff, but they will be back for the Doctor Strange discussion. We have a lot of stuff we want to talk about in that regard. Just some quick gaming news, or gaming stuff. Have you been gaming at all? Have you been able to get any time?
I haven't had a whole lot of time, but when I can, it's been, of course, Trails of Cold Steel gets a taste, but, the second one. But definitely Evil Dead when I've got time.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
I still just absolutely love that so much. And I tried to play last weekend with Cuddles and Blanco, and
But
I
you're-
was
you're
so
a piece of
drunk.
shit and you got loaded.
I was so drunk that I had no idea what I was doing. I couldn't even figure out the map. So yeah, no.
Hey, it's a good time though. It's a game that's really really fun to play with people, and yeah, getting shit faced playing Evil Dead just makes sense. So
Some Mario Kart as well too. I've been playing Mario Kart with my BFF.
that's right. You played it with the E-Geekly squad. So
Played with the
Mario Kart.
E-Geekly squad last week as well too, and then my BFF picked it up as well too. So we've been playing a little bit as well. So
That's awesome. This
Love me
past
some of that.
weekend, I went down to Chicago for a wedding, and just got loaded. That's pretty much all I did.
you did, however, you did get to see a really cool landmark.
I did, and I meant to grab the photo and throw
Piece
it in
of
the
shit.
discussion. I know, I forgot I was going to show it here tonight, but yes, right down the road from where the reception was, from the actual wedding, all you had to do is go down the street, like 3 houses, and take a left, and right there, in the center of the road, the McAllister's house from Home Alone.
That's great.
We got to see where
Awesome.
the McAllisters lived and where they shot most of Home Alone, and it was pretty cool, dude, to be able to just. It's what you would expect from, like, was that a John Hughes or a Chris Columbus movie? I can't remember what. He just always did his movies in Chicago. A lot of his stuff, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So he's a big fan of Chicago. And yeah, man, we got to go see the McAllister's house.
Look what you did, you little jerk.
It was pretty awesome, man. Like I said, it's incredible. You just sit there and go down there, and you're just like, oh, there it is in the middle of the street. It's just.
Yeah.
And it looks different than it did in the movie. They got it fenced off now. They've got some more like landscaping around it, so it doesn't look one-to-one that it did in the movie. But it's pretty sweet, man. It looks like they maintained it pretty well. And I think it just sold recently for, was it 1.5, and it's now valued at 2.5.
Awesome housing market.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're a seller, you're going to have a lot of fun out there. Buyers, not so much. You might have a rough go at it. Yeah, big ass house, 100 kids, redhead wife. It had to be a huge house. It was never going to work if it was a small house. So, but no, that was a lot of fun. It was a beautiful wedding. We had good weather for the most part. It was raining before the wedding, but afterwards it cleared up. And yeah, seriously, I drank a lot.
I didn't even know you had a tie in your home.
I had to have my wife tie it for me. She picked it out for me. I don't normally do ties, man. This is about as formal as I get right here.
Right.
So when I wear a suit and a tie, I just feel fucking weird.
Yeah, he looked weird.
But no, it was a lot of fun. Congrats to them for a beautiful wedding. It was a good time, and really excited to have seen the McAllister's house. So that was really cool.
Cool.
In terms of gaming, not a lot. Just a little bit of Evil Dead here and there. I am excited for Sniper Elite 5 that drops tonight at midnight. I think it might be out now on Xbox via Game Pass. It scored pretty good, pretty much what you would expect for a Sniper Elite game in the 80s on Metacritic. So I'm really happy with that. I'm really excited to play this game. I've always been a huge fan of the Sniper Elite games, and every time they bring out a new game, they always iterate upon it just enough where they know they don't have to mess with the formula very much.
Right.
But they do the necessary things, make the maps bigger. There's better stealth mechanics. The sniping still feels good, but now they've added an invasion mode, which sounds fucking sweet. If you're playing the game, somebody can drop into your game on the other side and try to find you to keep you from completing the mission.
That's getting to be quite an addition to games these days, I feel like.
Yeah, but I like what they did with this based on what I've been reading about it is to keep things kind of fluid and not make it so it's so much a game of just like two people camping. If you stay still for too long, you'll actually show up on the radar. So you still want to keep moving,
Right.
and you don't want to camp. But I also like the fact that the person that's invading does not get binoculars like the player's game. So they're at kind of a disadvantage, so they can't just sit there and just look in their binoculars
Right.
and try to find it. They actually have to hunt you down. So I'm really excited about that. I've always liked the multiplayer in Sniper Elite. The no cross mode is really intense. It's there's a line in the middle of the map you can't cross to their side, so it forces you to snipe. And the times that I have played it, it is a very intense mode, but it's fun because it is. It's very precise. You got to hide. You got to be stealthy when you move around. Don't make a lot of noise. And obviously, if you look down your sights, there's a glint. So you have to be, use your binoculars to kind of spot the enemies before you pull out the sniper rifle and go for the kill. But really, really excited for Sniper Elite 5 again. That should be out right now on Xbox via Game Pass, and then it launches at midnight everywhere on PlayStation tonight. So pretty excited to check that out this weekend.
Crossplay?
I believe there's crossplay for multiplayer.
See, I thought you were more of a Sniper Ghost Warrior guy.
No, dude, come on, dude, really?
Yeah,
no,
I really did.
No. Sniper Elite all the way, man. Sniper Ghost Warrior has, I will say this, though, I haven't played them, but the reviews for the Sniper Ghost Warrior series have been creeping upwards. They've been learning from their mistakes because they've always been, like, Sniper Elite has always been a kind of a budget title, but it's graduated more to a full price title
Right.
and this, that, whereas Sniper Ghost Warrior was kind of like a budget version of the
a
budget title.
budget title. Yeah.
But they have actually done a great job at kind of moving that game forward a little bit and improving on its mechanics, and the scores for that game have started to go up a little bit. So a little bit of competition for Sniper Elite, but right now I just, for sniping games, sniping mechanics and whatnot, that's where it's at, dude, is Sniper Elite. So really excited to check that out this weekend.
Cool.
But, so yeah, that's what's been going on with us. We're drinking some good stuff, a little Pigeon Hill sponsored event tonight. We have some Donut Stop Believin' and the Old Faithful. A little cream pie.
Yep, little cream pie.
I'm gonna let my cream pie get a little warm. I'm gonna drink.
Of course
the other
you will,
because I like them a little bit more room temperature.
Yeah.
So a little bit more stickier and frothier. So
yes,
I'm a big fan of having my cream pies like that. So I'm gonna let that get a little toasty.
Sick fuck.
What? Jeez. Okay. Anyways,
disgusting.
We have quite a few things to talk about tonight. But first up, dude, last night we were fortunate to get a couple tickets to go see Top Gun Maverick.
That's correct.
And so we are going to do a spoiler-free general impressions review of the Top Gun Maverick. Like, again, no spoilers. Not going to talk about any of the big scenes or anything like that. Just kind of give our general thoughts, overall thoughts of Top Gun Maverick. And obviously, starring Tom Cruise, Jennifer Connelly, who is still just aging gracefully. Just every time she's on screen, I'm just like, that's childhood crush right there.
Right.
She was hot when I was in the 80s. I loved her in the 80s, 90s. And I still love her now. She just looks amazing. We had Miles Teller. We had Ed Harris. We had John Hamm. I mean, it's a really good cast of actors and actresses. So they know it in that regard. Directed by Josh Krasinski. Yeah, man, I want to get you. You're a big fan. The original Top Gun. I think a lot of people are. There are some people who are kind of like, whatever about it because it's Tom Cruise, and it's like, whatever, it's a Tom Cruise movie. But I know you're a huge fan of Top Gun.
I am. I was obsessed with that as a kid.
When this was announced, expectations were through the roof. Sometimes you wonder, are they just gonna like mail this in? Is this gonna be just a sequel? But lately with Tom Cruise, he's doing things a little bit differently. He takes his work very seriously, and he didn't want to do a sequel until we had the technology to really move the way they capture the flight and whatnot forward a big leap. And leading up to the launch of the movie, there was a lot of buzz building up after a featurette came out where they showed that a majority of the cast, anybody that plays a pilot in this movie, a lot of their scenes, if not all of them, are filmed with them in the cockpit of an F-18 doing maneuvers.
Teach them.
Yeah, he had to teach them how to handle like the G's and all that stuff. I mean, there were still people flying it for them, but for the most part, they're in these jets going through all the scenes. And so, Tom Cruise, again, no stranger to big-time stunts. He wants everything to be as authentic and as practical as possible. Yeah. Tone, your initial impressions of Top Gun Maverick.
It's the best movie I've seen so far this year.
Wow.
Hands down.
The best movie you've seen so far this year.
It's my favorite at the very least. I guess best is subjective, right? But it is certainly my favorite movie this year, hands down. Like I said, I was obsessed with that movie as a kid, to the point where even as a kid, when we would play in the playground and we had the swings, the big tall swings, and numerous of our friends would play, we would always play Top Gun, which was you'd swing and you try to get as high as you could, and then you would pretend like you were shooting at each other or whatever it was, and then somebody would get hit and you'd like get as high as you could and then eject and fly down, and there, a couple people had to play Goose, but that's a whole different story. But I was obsessed with it. People would not watch that movie with me because I would quote it 80% of it just like nonstop, like just had it all down. That made me obsessed with fighter pilot jets. I had models. I'll never forget the first time that at a Tractor Supply, actually, I was with my grandparents, and I found a F-14 Tomcat metal die-cast plane like this. And I mean, it was just such a random toy to play with, right? But, like, I played with it for eons probably, and I was probably, like, 8 years old. So going into this, I was clearly, like, super, super excited. And being able to see this, of course, a couple days early, when you had brought it up, I was like, I mean, why would I not want to do that, right? And I know Tom Cruise in his personal life is controversial, but there's a lot of movies that he's been in that I'm really big fans of. I love the things that he does. I love his acting. I love his commitment to his art and things like that as well too. So, anytime, as we all know, and this is a pretty common theme here when we talk about reboots of series, not remakes, but reboots that try to come back. And, the standard has been for the while at this point, I think for most of us, the consensus has been Cobra Kai has been kind of the standard. Like, maybe over time it's kind of starting to lose a little bit of its shine, but like for the most part, they did it right with rebooting something 30, 40 years later and keeping it feel like it's close to the chest. It's original, but it's new enough. And very honestly, like, this movie did that. It did it really well. Like, how could anybody imagine, especially like with the tragedy that happened in the first one, how they were going to move that needle forward? But then, like, even me, like, once they started doing it, I'm like, man, I didn't even think about the thread like that. I mean, I forgot he was, you know, like, as a kid, like, Goose's kid was sitting on the piano and things like that. So there was so many like homages to that. Like, it was just done in a very respectful manner, and you can tell again that because somebody like Tom Cruise is involved, you know, how much they really wanted to keep that an homage, I guess, but also keep it fresh and new and move with the technology. And, you know, listen, clearly a big draw of it for anybody for this series is always going to be the fighter pilots, is being in the planes, seeing that sort of stuff. And we got a big screen here in town, which is great. I really wish we had an IMAX. I really do, because I feel like that would be a different experience for sure.
Yep.
But just the sheer the feeling, like the way they shot everything, like as far as even hitting those G's and people like having to like brace themselves for that, like everything felt like you were there in it. Like, it was very immersive. And the story definitely, I didn't feel like the story was overly predictable, which I thought was weird. Like, maybe there are some things for sure, but like there's some things like even towards the end, I'm like, man, this is getting close to the end, man. We must be almost done. And then it kind of veers a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, wow, like I didn't really expect that.
Right. Yep.
And then for me, like the big moment kind of comes towards the end. You know, and I'm just like, oh, this is perfect. They come full circle finally, right? So, I could probably, like, I'm glad that we're keeping this spoiler free, because I could probably talk about this nonstop. I really, really enjoyed it. Everything that anybody has seen or said about it, that you're seeing online about the reviews, the numbers it's pulling in are hands down well worth it. And man, like, if anything at this point, like, I'm fine with these reboots that are still like almost like sequels and still in that universe, if they're done really, really well. This was done very, very exceptionally well. And man, you know what? I was already thinking today, I'm like, God, I really want to see it again. Like, I really, really want to see this again. So, yeah, at the end of the day, that's it. I absolutely loved it. Everybody needs to see it. If you like the first movie, even remotely, maybe even if you don't, like, it's worth revisiting and going and seeing if you get a chance this weekend.
Yeah, Jay Hill says, so see it in theaters? Absolutely. You have to see this movie in the theaters.
You have to see it on a big screen. You really do.
You know, I'm just going to piggyback a little bit off what Tone said. You know, the story, for the most part, if you what you got from the story in terms of like the plot and why they're doing what they're doing, it's very similar to the first one. There's not a whole lot of like deep stuff going on in terms of the story. The character arcs are well done, like we discussed with Maverick and Goose's son. The way they explore that relationship, that's really, really interesting stuff. You know, obviously in the trailer we know that Jennifer Connelly is his love interest, and that's about as deep as you would expect. You know, it's just you're not seeing this movie so much for the storylines, even though I do think the storylines are really good. Like, there's some really good character storylines between Maverick and some other characters, new and old, that are very poignant and very, very well done. And they add just enough emotional weight to keep you engaged outside of the cockpit.
I don't know, like, I guess I didn't say this, but being that you said that, I don't know if you could tell, but like I was like super like invested emotionally. Like, there were times I'm like, I don't know how I was keeping myself together at times, because there were times I'm like, am I going to start fucking crying out of nowhere? Like, you know what I mean? But you're right. Like, the story isn't super, like, it's not like how Force Awakens ones, it was really on the cheek like A New Hope.
Right.
Whereas this one had, like, essences of...
Yeah, little nods, and that was about it.
Right, and it felt...
It didn't, like, just try to redo it over and over again in a different way or anything like that. It was just little nods here and there. But at the end of the day, dude, what you're there for is the action. For the combat,
and it's
dog fighting. And there are just so many scenes, man, that you think about when you watch the original Top Gun, some of the sequences and whatnot, which were cool back then for the time. But then you watch this, and you're just like, man, this you really feel like we have progressed. Like we have really pushed the limits in the technology forward to capture the essence of what it's like to be in a fighter jet. And not just like, I'm talking in combat, but I mean the maneuverability of these things and the impact it has on your body.
Yeah.
Like when these actors are doing these high climbs and these steep dives and the way that it impacts their body, you see it. They're not acting. They're actually getting the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah.
And, dude, that just adds a layer of of tension.
Immersion.
And I mean, there were multiple scenes. About halfway through, there was one sequence that really had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally, I was in this theater just like Gort face and everything, man. Like, it was just, you're just like the sound of it and the way, again, they had these cameras positioned and the way they capture it in the cockpit. It's a whole different fucking experience than the first Top Gun. Like, I appreciate what Top Gun was back then, but you can tell we have just made major advancements in how we can capture a lot of this stuff with the technology we have today, and it just creates an incredible experience. Absolutely worth seeing in the theater. I absolutely thought this movie was great. It's a lot of fun. Again, you're not going there to really think about the mission and what's going on that led to that. You're just there to enjoy a rollicking adventure. Like, it's a wild show.
Right, and the reason it's called Maverick is, any story that he had a lot of character growth. It wasn't like major like we see in some films, don't get me wrong. It was just, after all this time, there's some things that he's still the same. He's still Captain, Captain Maverick. There's different things, but outside of some of those things, he had some really good growth as well too. But like I said, it was done so well, and like I said, I really, really want to see it again. I don't know how I'm gonna get the chance to, but I'm for sure going to be seeing this again really soon. So
I mean, this really
figure it out.
This honestly felt like the kickoff of the summer movies. I mean, this is the way it's always been all these years. Memorial Weekend comes rolling around.
That's true.
That's when the big summer action movies start.
Oh yeah.
And this one basically it kicked the hot fires, light it, whatever he said. It's just is just going to be the best way to start the summer movies.
The only spoiler I will say, and this was something I really, really wanted to have happen, and it did happen, was that we did get a little taste of some Kenny Loggins. So
yes.
As long as we got, that's all I wanted. I just wanted a taste of Kenny. I didn't have to be playing with the boys, anything like that. As long as we got a little taste of some Kenny Loggins.
That was his biggest concern going in. Are we going to get some Kenny Loggins?
We're going to get some Kenny Loggins. So we got some Kenny Loggins. That would have been
really all you need.
That's all you needed
to really start off a Top Gun movie. But
in a decade when a lot of people were doing the pop collars and cleanly shaved, there was one man out there who said, I'm not going that route.
He doesn't play by the rules.
He doesn't play by the rules. He didn't. He did not.
No, but seriously, go check this out in the theaters. It's absolutely worth the price of admission. It's fun. It's exciting. It's thrilling. And, I mean, once again, Tom Cruise. Lots of Tom Cruise running, Darren.
We got some. Don't worry about that. It's a Tom Cruise movie. What you would expect,
you
worries.
get to see Tom Cruise running
No
for sure.
worries.
But yeah, if you guys and girls get a chance to check it out this weekend, make sure you let us know in the comments what you think of Top Gun Maverick, things you like, things you didn't like, which I really just can't think of what that would be. But it's a fun time, and we want to get your thoughts. So whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, make sure you let us know in the comments what you thought of Top Gun Maverick.
Correct.
Awesome flick. I thought it was dope. All right, Tone. Before we get over to the discussion of Doctor Strange, I think. Are you back?
Yes.
I didn't. Are they back? Okay. Oh yeah. All right. They'll be ready in just a moment. Let's talk just briefly about a show. We have two shows dropping this weekend. We'll touch on the other one here in a moment when we get them in here, but I want to get your thoughts briefly about Obi-Wan. We got our first two episodes on Friday night.
I am excited and cautiously optimistic still at this point. At this point, after Book of Boba.
You're
just generally
that one's still bothering you, huh?
Just generally from some of the comments that's been going around. Kathleen Kennedy's been flapjawing a little bit, and some other people. So there are some things out there, and I'm not a toxic person, so like
yes,
I'm
You're
open
a piece
to
of shit.
Shut the fuck up. I'm open to a lot of things, but there's been some concerns out there, and I don't like to buy into that stuff because a lot of people that have a lot of their concerns are also very aggressive in some ways sometimes. But I do believe that there is sometimes a fair perspective, and I do like to review all of those objectively. So I'm excited because of the character and for the timepiece. And the people that are coming back clearly, but
when is this taking place again?
This is taking place about 10 years before A&H, A New Hope.
Okay.
So this is going to be taking place actually even before Rebels in some route, which Rebels was about 5-6 years prior to NHA, or kind of started in that realm as well too. So because there's some crossover between that as well too with that character. So and just definitely so Derby Gaming says saw leaks for Kenobi. It's not looking good.
Oh no.
So no. At least we're not getting any Quan Ha in this one. So no worry, Josie, on that one. That's fair. The live action Inquisitors definitely has me excited for sure as well too. So the fact that we've got Hayden and Ewan back together. A lot of the stuff they've been doing some different like promo stuff here and there. They're definitely excited to be working together as well too. People have finally started to embrace Hayden a lot better because
I thought he finished it strong with Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
I thought that was obviously his best turn.
He got a bad rap in some ways as well too, and I am partly to blame for that. And that was a lot of that I've tried to make amends with as well too. So I don't have any ill will for him. I know he's excited. I know when I heard the story of when he was cast as that character, his excitement for it was pretty endearing story. But they're excited to be back. I'm excited to see some of that as well too. So again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't feel like that all of Star Wars has been handled very well since it's been under Disney's banner. There's been some stuff I really like, been a lot of it I don't like, and I want this to be great. I want this to be good because everybody wanted this, but I'm afraid. I'm just a little afraid.
Disney's just gonna continue to fuck shit up.
I don't know.
I'm hoping, man. Like I said, I'm happy with it. I'm glad that they got Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor back. But I hope they learn something from Boba Fett. But this show was pretty much done in production when Boba Fett was airing. So I mean, if they learned anything from Boba Fett, it's probably not going to be applied to this show. They might have still gone in with the same mindset as they did with Boba Fett, going, "Hey, we're going to try things a little bit differently and to make some changes here." But now I think, I don't know when our next show is after this, but, I think they will look at the feedback that they got from Boba Fett and how people react to this to determine how they're going to proceed in the future, especially with these beloved characters that people kind of have an expectation of.
Kathleen said some stuff this week about how they're about recasting legacy characters as younger. They learned that from Solo, but Solo gets a bad rap because of how bad The Last Jedi was for people. So it's not really. She's still not getting it. I don't think she's still not getting the point there. So again, we'll see. I'm optimistic as well too. I'm excited, but I know, Darren. I know that's controversial for people too. The lightsabers from the Inquisitors as well too. But I agree with that, Crash too. I always said for many years that it wasn't just Hayden's. It wasn't just Anakin's prequel trilogy, even though it was supposed to be centered around him. It was definitely Obi-Wan's as well too, because if anything, for many years, my favorite part of that original trilogy, or excuse me, the prequel trilogy, was Obi-Wan's story as well too. So, but I digress.
All right. Well, hey, we're going to be cautiously optimistic. The first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan drops this Friday on Disney+. We'll be checking that out. Next week, we'll be doing a community night on Wednesday night, but the following week, I'm sure we'll talk about the first 3 episodes of Obi-Wan, get Tone's initial reactions to that. Is he going to love it, or is he going to give it the Halo boot? We don't know yet.
I don't think anything can be as bad as that dumpster fucking fire.
Oh, jeez.
Even bad Star Wars is better than that shit.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to let Tone cool off for a minute. We're going to get Brandy and Steven here. We're going to talk about some Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of weeks to kind of sit down, let it simmer, let us think about it, and now we're going to go into a bit of a dive into it and get our thoughts on certain plot points, certain things that happen, some of the hot topics that have come from the movie after people have seen it. There's a lot of things that people are talking about.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in just a moment with Brandy and Steve as we continue this episode from Koi's Comics. And welcome back.
We're right there.
You're right there. You're right there. We are joined by Brandy and Steve of Koi's Comics. Thanks to you guys for coming up. I know we broke in earlier and set up shop before.
Yeah.
You didn't think we were going to be here, but
Rude.
we were serious.
Yeah.
Sorry about you, Dora. That's how we had to get in, though.
Okay.
But no, seriously,
we'll pick up the comics later.
we are excited to be here for another episode of Banter Babble at Koi's Comics. You guys, before we went live, you guys were doing another one of your shows on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Tell everyone what those are all about again.
So we missed our normal Tuesday show yesterday. Things were running far behind. We normally do those at 7:30 sharp, sometimes 7:45, sometimes 8 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Whatever works.
Yeah, where we show all the new books and new variants and things that came out. So we did that tonight. So that's what we were doing when you guys busted in here. Knocked down the door.
Knocking
we
off
just
the
got that
comics
glass
off the
replaced too.
Man, I'm sorry, man. Your insurance will cover it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've got that figured out.
So yeah, it was fun. We enjoy our regulars that come on there and watch with us, and it's a good time.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
No, you guys had, I was out in the parking lot smashing my dinner, and I seen you guys had well over like 30 viewers on there. People tuned in, so that's awesome. So obviously people are tuning in for that every time you guys go live, and everyone's hyped about that. Also want to talk a little bit about Comic Book Day. Last time we were here to get hyped up and get excited about that, and you guys finally had it. It was a beautiful day for it. How was Free Comic Book Day?
Oh my gosh, huge success. Big thanks to everybody who came out because it was an amazing day. We tried something new. The first 10 people in line won pretty big prizes.
Yeah.
And sure enough, like there was a line wrapped around the building. We were stoked. Unfortunately, and I'm sorry to everyone who had to wait a little bit, but we had a line wrapped around the inside of the store until about noon.
That's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to
Yeah.
have.
So we're very grateful to everybody who made it out. The bands were awesome.
Yes, they were.
Our artists were amazing, and they stayed doing sketches nonstop for most of the day. And we had an amazing team of people out here helping, just out of the kindness of their hearts. It's pretty amazing.
That's
very
awesome.
grateful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Steve, what were your thoughts, man? You had a good time?
I've been doing this since since they started Free Comic Book Day. I think when I started at the shop, we're maybe 4 or 5 Free Comic Book Days in, and now we're 20 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's up there now, and this was the busiest we've ever had by far. Just in terms of sales, in terms of people through the door, it was awesome. Like we didn't stop bringing people up until about 5 p.m. I think that's how
Awesome.
It was just crazy. Like she said, there was a line. There was a line of people in the store for I think until about 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was crazy. You said noon. I
Well,
think your time was a little off there.
we looked up around noon and we were like, oh, there's only 4 people in line.
Yeah.
And then another 2 minutes passed and it was around the store again. Like,
Well, see, everyone was outside at the food truck getting something
Yeah.
to eat. Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
wait, and then I'll rush in afterwards. But no, that was awesome. You guys had a great turnout. You had the food truck. You had beautiful weather. It was an amazing day. Like, it was really beautiful out that day. And I'm just glad you guys had a big success, man. It sounds like everyone had a really good time. Like you said, artists, bands, food. And I know Tone was able to come up here, and Tone said it was a good time, man. It sounds like it was a
I
big
showed up
success.
late in the day. I had a lot of errands I actually ended up having to do that day. I wanted to be here much earlier, but I got here probably just before 4. And it was like you said, like there was still like small lines going on, and then like I hung out, but it was packed in here too, though. So I was just talking to everybody. Darren was in here, of course, and Josie was the first time I met him. In kind of like the real life world space there outside of the interwebs, and I was just talking to people, seeing people I know, and things like that. And then I brought my chair out here. I was like, they're doing the band stuff. I'm like, I got some food, and then like the band started playing. I popped up in my chair, said, I'm ready. I'm here for the concert.
Tailgating.
Yeah, I was hanging out. So it was a really awesome time. What an awesome experience. So that was awesome. It's great to see that.
Now, before
Sure, yeah,
before Free Comic Book Day, Thursday night, you guys hosted an event out at the Imagine out in Birch Run for a private showing of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which we're going to discuss here momentarily. But I just wanted to say, you guys, thank you so much. That was an awesome experience.
was
Like, I've been to premiere nights before,
awesome.
but this was different. I'd never been to one where there's a table set up, there's raffles going, and it's just a huge community of people that you guys have built, a community you guys have built of just awesome people who love comics, who love Marvel, who love just all the nerdy shit. They love it all, and you guys just brought everyone. I mean, that place was packed. That was a packed theater.
Yeah.
Every seat was taken. All the lounge seats up front. Tone didn't want to sit with me in the lounge seat. I was disappointed. I wanted to snuggle with him up close.
The cuddle chair.
The cuddle chair.
couch.
I want nothing to do with it. I was so disappointed. But you guys, awesome. Trying to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was. We were blown away. This was our biggest theater rental yet. And we did it for Spider-Man. We did it for what was the one before that? We did it.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, no, we didn't do it. We didn't
Batman?
do it for those. Batman. We did it for
there you
Batman.
go.
Yes.
Crash, thank you for making it out. Yeah.
And thank you for anybody who's watching that came out. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming out. It was awesome. We sold out of like 94 tickets or something like that for this thing.
packed.
And I don't know if there's a
Yeah.
bigger theater we can rent, but next time we might have to for Thor. So
Thor's gonna be Thor's
I know
not-
our crew is for sure. Like
Yeah.
everybody's been asking, are we going to the Thor out there to Birch? I'm like, absolutely. We're certainly
we're like
gonna do that.
obligated at this point.
Yeah.
to do
Kinda
this
have
for
to at this
every
point.
comic book movie now.
Right,
ever.
right.
No, but it was
a blast.
amazing. Well, and the crowd that was sort of cultivated. Thank you for being part of that, because that's part of why it was such an amazing experience. And when you get to see it full of a room of people who know when to be quiet,
Yep.
who know when to not be quiet, which
Right.
we're going to
Especially,
talk about
yeah.
that, I'm sure. But it made it amazing, and that's who I've always wanted to see movies like
Yeah.
this with, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's so rewarding now to get to see it, because it's like going to see it with family, but if your family was
Right.
90 people deep,
Yeah, it's more of like that passion, I think,
Yeah.
is as opposed to
You're
like,
not allowed. Yeah, it's not a lot of people just going in to see a movie that they're not familiar. I mean, these are people who are deeply invested.
Yeah.
In the MCU and
Yeah.
Marvel in general, and then it's everyone knows everybody, so everyone's comfortable with everybody. Everyone's there to just have a good time. And we've talked about it before. Whenever you see a Marvel movie on premiere night, it hits different.
Yeah.
When you're with a crowd
Absolutely.
that is there for a purpose, they're there for a reason because this is something they've been looking forward to. It's a lot different than when you see it on like a Friday or a Saturday or a matinee or something like that. When you go to premiere night, it's a lot. It's like a football game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, everyone kind of knows you gotta shut up here. But when something dope happens, it's like somebody scored a touchdown. Like it's wild. And when you have that kind of energy, it just makes it so much more enjoyable and so much more memorable because you're just like, I'm sharing these same emotions. I don't have to cap it and be quiet for anybody.
Right.
I'm just with these people that I love, people I love to hang out with and share experiences with, and I'm just in it. You know, you're just in the zone, and that's the type of environment that you guys created for that movie, and it was a lot of fun. Like it was really fun.
Oh yeah.
I like how Brent keeps using sports metaphors, which
That's the only way-
I'm completely
learned,
lost
like,
here.
Don't
No, but I mean,
cry
like, seriously,
at
I mean,
all.
like, how often do you see it? Like you're in a theater and everyone just stands up and
Oh,
cheers.
it's so
You know what I'm
cool.
saying? I mean, like
So
when
cool.
certain things happen, I'm just like. Before I started coming to see MCU movies with like Tone and them, I'd never been to a premiere night. So everyone, like you said, everyone's like, hey, everyone shut the fuck up. You know, everyone talks and everything. But when you're in that atmosphere, it is like a sporting event where people are just going nuts at a big play.
Yeah.
And when something happens, I was just like, oh shit, this is cool to do this here. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, now I can do it. Get into it more, and
Yeah.
it is. It's a different experience altogether. I fucking love that.
Oh, and this is huge for me because like you might not be able to tell it like if you frequent the store, if you've known me, you know, for a while, but like I have terrible social anxiety.
Oh,
I do not like going places where there's large crowds of people. I never liked going to movies on opening night. I would always go to matinees just because there were hardly any people there. That's what I was comfortable doing. Now I love these things. It's awesome. Like I feel super comfortable there. Like you know everybody, even you don't know everybody because I don't know everybody that friends of people who are that people are bringing and things like that. It's just so cool because you're all there for the same thing,
Right.
and you're all like super stoked for this thing. You don't have some stupid kids, teenagers in the front like making fun of the movie and
Right.
making you feel dumb for liking this.
Yeah.
Cool.
We had so I took my family on Saturday after to see it, and there was like somebody had brought like a 2-year-old and was crying throughout the whole time. Like, listen, if you got kids, I understand, and I know you want to do things.
Stay home.
But exactly, don't put that on everybody else.
Make it a Tuesday afternoon show.
Who the fuck takes their child that young to see a movie like that? Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. I ain't got no time for that. You're ruining my experience. All right. Right.
Exactly.
Your choice to have a child and do things that you do.
Children are wonderful.
Go to
I
the
love
Wednesday
kids.
I'm
matinee.
the only one here.
Love kids.
Yeah, I mean, like a Friday night,
Not at the
Saturday
theater.
night showing, that's no place. I mean, like, seriously, a Tuesday at noon, if you want to take your kid to that, a little kid, that's where I'll take. Like, if I want to go see Sonic with the kids, I would go take them, okay, let's go to Tuesday at
Sonic
noon.
was probably playing in the theater next door, yo. Just saying. Just
With
saying.
nobody there because they'd already seen it.
Right.
Like who's for like soundproof glass rooms in the
Yes.
back of the theater where
Oh my
That's
god!
fine.
where
stop.
you can put the kids.
No.
Yeah, go sit back there and watch.
Here's
Yeah.
the thing, though. So we don't get much of a discount when it comes to a Marvel movie. So the price point is a little higher than we'd like.
Sure.
We keep working on that with the theater, but that does tend to solve that problem right away because even Darren, I've heard in here, Darren, who's wonderful, is one of our favorite customers. He's got 3 kids of his own.
Well, he keeps these walls up, I think, half the time too.
Yeah.
Going Darren.
He looked at one of his kids. He's like, "We're not paying for you guys to go to that."
Yeah, that's great. No, and I think and that's just it. Like, even if it's really only a few extra dollars and you're paying for here anyways, but you have a chance to be in that raffle, And
Yep,
I
raffle.
never win anything. I
Tone
actually
wins.
won something for once,
No.
which was amazing. But just the experience, it is different. And I don't know if I said something to Dude or I made a joke to somebody. I'm like, I probably got 3 or 4 hugs from people I hadn't seen in a while. So there was people that I know shop here that I haven't even seen in a while and be able to see, I'm talking to everybody that I hadn't seen and stuff like that. So it is definitely a much different environment and experience, and you cannot put a price tag on that when it comes to these sort of things for me. That's the way I look at it at the very least.
And we try to make sure everybody that comes to these walks away with something too. Everybody that came to this one got one of the free comic book day books early.
Yeah, I got one of those. I didn't win a raffle, but I did get a.
Yeah.
I came out with that.
fuck
I
you,
tried
buddy.
to steal his and
Shut
swap
up.
it, but he didn't fall for it.
Next time.
We'll see.
But we gave away a bunch of the new Strange #1 comics.
Yep.
People who didn't pick that up, and it was a cool time. We did not know, however, with this one that popcorn and drinks were included. And everybody was like getting their own popcorn and drinks.
I
They were
did.
walking in. We're like, we're so sorry, guys. We had no idea.
We had
Please just
known,
grab
yeah.
as much
I'm
as
over.
you
Yeah.
want.
I'm out there buying a large popcorn and all this. I'm like, well, I got my chow. And I go sit down. You know, the popcorn's already gone before the movie starts. And Tone's like, hey, they got free popcorn. I'm like, what? I go
Yeah.
over and there's just a table full of
Yeah.
popcorn. I'm like, son of a
So they've
gun.
never done that before for us. The first one we did was the newest Conjuring movie, which was an awesome time, great movie.
Yeah,
but that
we
was
will
like
be doing
something
a
we
horror
had.
one again.
Yeah. But that was
Ooh,
something we
black
had
phone,
to
black
pay.
phone. Sorry, go ahead.
Is that out yet?
No, June 24th, I believe.
See,
it's.
we've been
yeah.
wanting to see that so bad.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, we've been watching
That
too.
might be a little close to do, but
Yeah.
maybe the next one after that, whatever the next one after that is. But no, we did have the popcorn and the drinks for that one, but it was like you had to pay for like certain extra
Yeah.
package or
so
whatever.
we didn't expect this.
So
but
we had no idea this time. It was just included with it. And it was
Maybe
it was
that's
awesome,
maybe
you know?
that's the evolution of things because you talk
Could
about
be.
the pricing isn't quite now they're like, okay, they're bringing in 90 people, they're
I-
throwing popcorn, and then like, oh,
Right.
they're doing 90 people again. Oh, here comes a discount.
I hope so.
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? I mean, that's maybe you're working towards it. I mean, they know that you guys are going to bring a crowd. It's going to be fun. It's going to be clean. Everyone's going to have a good time. Everyone's going to eat. So
Yeah.
at that point, at some
Yeah.
point, they're going to be like, you know what? We can count on these folks to fill this
Yeah.
theater up.
Oh, the
Yeah.
bartender loves us.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
hell yeah, hell
Everybody
yeah.
there's been great. Like they,
Yeah,
you know, they're
they're
so
really
helpful,
great.
so.
Yeah.
I really love Imagine theaters.
Yeah,
I
that
really
dude.
do.
Well, I mean,
It's a
obviously
nice
that theater is
It
different
is.
than the Imagine we have here because they got the lazy boys and the cuddle
it's-
seats.
And that's why we go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a lot
That's
different.
right.
It's a lot different. Like,
Yeah.
and I thought that made it just even better. It was just you just sit back in there and maybe next time you'll cuddle with me up front. But
Eh.
we'll see.
I just know that it's almost 15 minutes, 12 minutes ish to go out to the Imagine here in town, and it's 25 minutes total to get to Birch Run. It's worth
it.
the extra
It's
10 or
worth
15
it.
minutes
Really
to go
is,
to,
yeah.
honestly, like it was well worth it. So, the question that I have though is, so definitely doing Thor, right?
Definitely doing
Absolutely.
Okay, when do those tickets go on sale? That's the real question.
They got to be pretty soon because what they did Strange about a month out.
Yeah, but we were able to get them, I think, earlier, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's got to be pretty soon. Then maybe after Memorial
Yeah.
Weekend or after this weekend.
Something's gotta be coming
'cause it'll
soon.
be 'cause
July,
I think
yeah.
July 7th. So probably sometime
Yeah.
next week they'll
Yeah.
drop it.
As soon as I get my act together.
fair enough.
We'll have to, yeah, we'll have to start the whole process, or we'll contact the theater about that. But, yeah, sure. When is that coming out?
July 7th.
Oh, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
that's
it's
quick.
quick.
Yeah, it's coming
Yeah.
up fast. That's why if they're doing the month out thing that they did with Spider-Man and with Doctor Strange, it's got to be pretty soon here. They'll contact you guys to let you know, hey, you want to get these tickets.
We'll get on it. We'll get on it. No
Yeah,
worries.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about it. I mean, we went and saw Doctor Strange. No, Tone's seen it twice. Have you guys had a chance to see it twice?
No.
I haven't either. I haven't
it's
either.
busy, I
But I
know.
mean, it's still one of
Hard.
those movies that you don't forget. You remember it vividly, and everyone went there, and I think everyone for the most part had a really, really good time. I didn't hear anybody in there say, Everyone really enjoyed it. And I thought it was a good movie. But well, first of all, let's talk about just overall impressions of the movie after you walked away, after you had a night to sleep on it. And to think about it, what were, let's start with you, Steve, your initial reaction to the Doctor Strange movie? Love it, hate it, things you like, things you don't like.
I absolutely loved it. It's in my top 5
Ooh.
like MCU movies now. I thought it was Sam Raimi at his finest. Like this was one of the most like Sam Raimi movies I think since Evil Dead 2. Like so much.
That's a
He
big-
pulled out all the
that's a
stops.
big
He
for this
didn't,
one.
yeah, he
Oh,
didn't
that
pull
is
any
like a-
punches.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he did not pull any
Um,
punches.
I thought it was great. I didn't really know what to expect going in. I didn't even really know that Wanda was really going to be the main villain.
I didn't think that because the trailer, you don't think that you're just like, okay, she's either going to be helping
Right.
Strange
Right.
or they did a good job of keeping that under wraps. So, yeah,
Exactly.
nobody really kind of expected her to be like, oh shit, she's the baddie.
Right, and they kind of
Yeah.
changed things for the trailers a little bit.
Oh, they
now,
always
right?
do. They always do.
fool you.
Love
They,
that.
you know,
They do.
But no, it was so good. I loved like the big reveal of the Illuminati.
The Illuminati.
and those actors, the actors coming back to play the characters, and the new actors that
Yeah.
were kind of like been fan cast over
Yeah.
the years playing certain characters, and man, it was so good. I want to see it again. I wish we had a chance to go see it again
Yeah.
before now, but we just haven't, unfortunately. But it was absolutely amazing.
Loved it.
Blew my expectations. Yeah.
Oh,
Loved
Super
it.
Steve. Okay, all right. Brandy, your thoughts?
I could not believe how scary it was.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
I was sort of shocked, and not in that like like not a gory kind of way, not a horror kind of way, but in this way that's like, oh shit, especially as a Marvel movie.
Yes.
Like you are just not expecting
They push the limits.
real buy-in, I guess what is what I'm saying is, oh no, these people are gone. Like that's it. Like they're not messing around. You're not getting wounds, sort of that PG-13 Disney kind of, right? Like that was legit. And then it sort of, it given where we are in the MCU, it sort of tugs on some heartstrings there with certain characters.
Yep.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was unlike any other Marvel movie, and that was an amazing compliment to it.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel
Black
you make a
Bolt.
good point there. I mean, if you look at basically this phase so far, you look at Eternals, and that was met with some criticism by certain fans and whatnot. But again, a different type of Marvel movie. Shang-Chi, a different type of Marvel movie.
Yeah.
We're seeing that in this phase. Even the TV shows themselves. I mean, Loki. I mean, these are all shows that are just, they have a different feeling to it. And there's a lot of people that are kind of like critical of that. And like, oh, it's not, there's this reason or that reason. But I know Tone's going to touch on this a little bit, and I think it's going to be a really important conversation because there are just some folks that aren't sure how they feel about where they're taking the MCU properties right now. And this one was just another one of those movies you're just like, this is Sam Raimi doing Sam Raimi, which is maybe a little bit more than what a lot of people are used to based on the first couple of phases. But Tone, I'm going to come back to you really quick. Your overall thoughts.
I absolutely loved it. I am a Sam Raimi fanboy. He could do shit movies and I'll still watch them. Like, I don't care. Like,
And he has.
And he has. Yeah, admittedly, he has, right. But it just, generally from everything, how he shoots, how he does, like, it's there's just certain things that he does, that's Sam Raimi, you can tell. And that those little nuances makes him special, I think. Even in for instance, Spider-Man 2, just the way he shot like the tentacles coming out a couple times, that's the same Raimi thing. You just know. And I watched Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness this week because we've been playing the Evil Dead game a lot and having a blast with that. So I just feel like I'm enriched anyways with a lot of Sam Raimi currently. So I absolutely thought this movie was brilliant, and I know that's probably controversial with a lot of people out there because I know there's a lot of people that did not really feel the movie. But what's important about this movie is that it wasn't, and it isn't like a lot of the rest of the MCU that we've seen before, because the paint by numbers thing is still kind of there. Disney wants people to keep him in a box, but like they allowed Sam to be Sam at the same time as well too. He's got to hit some of the finer points to keep with the story moving forward, but he was still able to be Sam Raimi. When she came through that mirror dimension, she was a Deadite, I about shit my pants. I'm like, that was like, that's what I wanted. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. And I had a feeling she was going to be the villain in this personally, only because one of the last trailers, when she says to Doctor Strange, she's like, you play with whatever it is that you do, and you're a hero, but when I do it, I'm the bad guy or whatever.
That's not fair.
That doesn't seem fair. So I had a feeling going into this. I'm like, I got kind of a feeling she's going to be the baddie in this one. And we've seen in the mid-2000s with like House of M and certain things like that as well too, and kind of the storylines from WandaVision that they pulled from that. I had a feeling she was going to be a big piece of kind of where this was drawn for. And then when you see at the end of WandaVision, she's literally got her hand in the cookie jar, the Darkhold anyways. And that's corrupting the shit out of her. And it's ironic that it's a Sam Raimi movie that's talking about some crazy book. And he even calls it kind of like the Book of the Dead and stuff like that too. Like Doctor Strange calls it that as well too, which is fantastic. But I really enjoyed this because it was a horror-esque film. We haven't seen anything like that in the MCU whatsoever. And I know we'll talk a little bit deeper about this as well too, but like it was a growing character piece for Doctor Strange, and I think people kind of a little bit missed that because they were so focused on the fact that Wanda was the bad person in this one, and they couldn't understand and believe how that would be. But it's like, listen, it's comics, wrestling, whatever it is, there's face and heel turns all the time. Things are going to trigger people. She was triggered by all this trauma, loss of her kids. She had her hand in an evil book. What the fuck did everybody think was going to happen? Right?
And I feel like that's an important thing because some of the best Marvel villains come from a place of trauma, come from a place of like pain and suffering, and they're just not like, they don't just wake up and they're fucking evil or or anything like that. Wanda, she reminded me a little bit of how they handled Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2. Meant to do well, wanted to do the right thing. Unfortunate circumstances happened, got manipulated by the machines, turned into a bad guy. But at the end of the day, he recognized this is not who I am.
Right.
You know, and he gets his redemption moment. And that's what I love about these types of characters, is because you can relate to them in certain ways. There's certain ways you can look at Wanda and the trauma she suffered with her kids and everything that happened with Vision and WandaVision, and you're just like, man, that fucking sucks. And then, you know, she gets a hold of the Darkhold, and that makes her, you know, manipulates her, and she starts believing certain things that aren't true, and she starts carrying out acts that are unbecoming of her. That's not Wanda, but she's so far into it, and she's so traumatized from her experience, where you're just like, fuck, man, that's not who she is, but this is what she's become, and that's tragedy. That's something that will really affect people. That's a lot better than, oh, I got dropped in a vat of acid, now I'm pissed and gonna kill everybody. I mean, that's cool stuff, you know, it's fun, but when you take the time to develop a character and give a villain motivation and give them a backstory where it's like, shit, if I were in their position, what would I do? Is that really all that dissimilar from something that I would do or how I would react to it? And I feel like when you have a villain with that kind of background, that kind of backstory, it raises the stakes. It raises the stakes because you know that's not who they are, but you understand why they've become that person. And that's why I think she does make a very compelling villain in this movie.
Well, let's not forget, she did start out as a villain.
In
the movie and in the books.
Exactly.
You know? So
exactly.
Talk a little bit about, because you were super excited to get House of M back.
I was excited to get House of M.
And I wanted to understand the connection better because you know the book background.
So one of the storylines in the comics where she kind of goes crazy because of what happened with her kids is Avengers Disassembled, and you know, they start to die in horrible ways, and like the Avengers mansion gets attacked, and all this crazy stuff happens, and then you come to find out it's Wanda doing it all.
Right.
You know, she snapped because of her children.
Right.
And then at the end of that storyline, she creates the House of M universe and kind of gives everybody what they desire in the House of M universe, and then, you know, they start to kind of wake up and realize what's going on and then have to stop her. So it was kind of like, it was kind of almost in reverse there with the WandaVision show kind of almost being that, without all the other characters, obviously, and then this was kind of like the Avengers Disassembled to a point, you know.
Sure.
And we saw that a little bit with the Illuminati. But yeah, then, you know, of course Avengers Disassembled is out of print right now, so we can't get that. And then we got House of M in. So I encourage, if you haven't read those two stories, read those two stories because they're fantastic, and there are elements of both of those in this movie. So
it's some of the more higher prolific storylines in like the 2000s. Would you say in the Marvel? Honestly, like, I know Civil War was big, of course, and parts of Secret War as well too. But like the House of M and everything that happened there was huge because it shook the entire like the entire all of Marvel, really.
And that was kind of at the point where Marvel comics were starting to change a little bit from like what we knew in the 90s to like what we know now. They were starting to get darker.
Edgier,
they were being written edgier. They were being written more for adults instead of geared more towards, you know, younger readers and things like that. And it was kind of like, you know, we saw Bendis and Millar were doing a lot with the Marvel universe, and they were kind of shaping it, I think, into kind of what we see now with the comics. So that's definitely that early, those early stories of when they started to change everything.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's really cool how Marvel does it. How they don't follow some of these stories, you know, right down the line. Like they take little bits of it and they use that to kind of like fuel their version of the MCU and how they want the stories to move forward. And you know, they don't want to like do it. I think what they're trying to avoid doing, obviously, is when they get to some of these deeper stories, they don't want to take it, you know, point by point, because you kind of remove the whole like what's going to happen next. You got to be surprised, so they got to twist it up a little bit. But as long as they use some of that foundation to add motivation to the characters and flesh them out a little bit, I think that's good. But yeah, they're always going to like be like, you know, let's kind of like do it this way, but then maybe a little something different so they're not expecting it, but still make it make sense in this universe.
I think even as a die-hard comic fan, you've got a reason to be invested in these.
Absolutely.
By them doing that. And that's true, I think, even for, you know, say what you will about Walking Dead, right? The show diverged from the comics just enough to, and then it would come back together, and then it would go this way, and I'm just, and then, you know, you had a reason to possibly enjoy it? Question mark. But I think yeah. But I think that you made an excellent point, and it's one thing that has blown me away with current comics coming out. There's a depth to them, and a realness behind motivations as a you know, you don't think of yourself as a villain. When are you a villain, right? Well, you paint somebody's motivations in this light, they become empathetic, but they're still up against a superhero. That makes them a villain. But you care about them in such a way that it makes them real. It makes the story so much more interesting, and it's just such a far cry from, I think, the things we grew up with.
Right.
In the 80s, question mark.
but no, like you said, it's when the motivation, when the motivation of the character isn't black and white, when it's not just like wrong or right. You know, when there's points that you can make where there are some folks that might be in a movie theater that might have lost their kids or something horrible like that, and they see Wanda's character and they're just like, they might see it differently than somebody who hasn't experienced something like that. They're like, oh, I kind of understand why. And again, that makes it compelling when you have characters that people who can relate to the villain, not in a way that they're doing nefarious stuff, like, oh, yeah, I would totally do that, but just, I understand the motivation. And I think that's why, again, it makes Wanda such a unique, compelling villain, because not only is she fucking powerful, I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, she's pissed. She's upset. She's dealing this with her own way. But when she is unleashed, we've seen what she's capable of. I mean, she's a very powerful, powerful villain.
Well, in the MCU, she's considered, what is that, Nexus Being?
Nexus Being,
or whatever it is. And, you know, like you mentioned, like, the villain thing, I think, which is a great perspective, because, you know, clearly with House of M and things like that in the mid-2000s, we're seeing, you know, that growth. They're recognizing that people that read comics are still reading them. They need more. We've matured. We're more adult. And, you know, I always say I feel like that a villain that for the longest time I feel like always had like an opposite and fair perspective has always been Magneto to me. I feel like he's always been driven by something more than just like, you know, random villains that are fighting good guys that just all of a sudden, well, because they're fighting the good guy, they're the bad guy kind of thing. You know, he's kind of one of those, like, I don't want to say anti-hero because he's not necessarily anti-hero, and I know he's kind of gone back and forth, but he's definitely one of those villains that's driven by like true, like, actual reason and things like that as well too. So I do love that perspective, you know, like that if you're a bad guy, you're just instantly, you know, you're fighting the good guy, you are the bad guy. And I feel like in WandaVision there is some perspective there that it's, yes, she is, but she's driven by, you know, different things as well too. So
So let's circle back to this real quick, because obviously one of the big talking points about this movie is obviously Elizabeth Olsen's performance in this. I thought she was incredible.
Amazing.
I mean, she is.
Yeah.
We've just seen her evolve as an actress. You know, I actually thought, you know, she was one of the best parts of Godzilla. I actually loved her in Godzilla, like her scenes where she was emotional. I was like, man, she's actually really good. Obviously, you know, everyone talks about Bryan Cranston being in that movie, and he's only in there for a short part, but
I forgot that
Bryan Cranston's in it.
Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were in
the
it.
only.
Oh, did you really forget that? Oh yeah, they were in love.
And I always thought she was really good in that. And then when they brought her as Wanda, I was like, okay, this girl, she's just super talented. And then in this movie, we get to really see that, because the struggle that she's dealing with. I mean, there's multiple scenes where you're just like, man, you can feel the fucking pain. And you know, she's a great character. She's a great actress. We obviously know her demise at the end of the movie. She pulls down the castle or the tower, wherever she's at. And
Quotations. Their demise.
She pulls it down her, but the reason that I say that demise right now is simply because in a recent interview, Elizabeth Olsen came out and said that she has missed a lot of opportunities due to her Marvel contract. We don't know if there's anything else on her contract going forward. And I know she does want to explore the. She's, like I said, she's talented as fuck, and not that she's not good in WandaVision, but she has talked about multiple movies.
She was great in WandaVision.
But she's passed up multiple movies because of her contract, and she really does want to get out there and expand stuff.
Bet.
So here's the thing, you know, do you feel like this right now is a proper send off for that character? Like, do you feel like the way they did it, could this be it for Wanda, or do you think Disney will be like, hey Elizabeth, we know you want to do some movies, but here's a check that says otherwise.
Right.
And you know, since it's blank, just go ahead and
Prince money
and
at Disney.
fill it out how you wish. But I mean, if this were to be Wanda's final appearance in the MCU for the immediate future, do you feel like this is a good resolve for her? I'll start with Tom.
You want to start with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to double check. I mean, yeah, she's done a lot. She has been in more than most. She started as a villain for sure, in an end credit scene, and she had a redemption, a great arc with, kind of with Hawkeye. Kind of came full circle. She had some uphill battles with Civil War and things like that. She's been integral parts of that story since she's been introduced. And then, she got an entire TV series with WandaVision. We saw a really unique series, and honestly, I mean that when I say she was great in that, because what a unique show to showcase the range of an actor or actress. And
so weird,
it's
conceptually, and it worked,
and absolutely very unique, and I loved how that was done. And she was able to hold all these different scenes in these different eras, and just everything she did was great about that. And then, at the end, she's dealt with tragedy and then comes in as the villain again, kind of full circle. And then at the end, again, kind of redeems herself again. She seriously should be a wrestler, I swear. But yeah, I think that's a fine send-off for her. She's had a lot of time in there. And I don't think that I don't think that puts her to rest. I know Agatha's got a series coming up. I still think we'll see maybe something to do with there, too. Okay. And there was rumors that she had been approached about her own movie as well, too, before this came out. I swear I read that somewhere about a movie of more with her, because keep in mind it was called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It wasn't about her. I mean, it was, don't get me wrong, she was the villain, but it wasn't the Scarlet Witch in the Multiverse of Madness. So I think it's a good for now send off. I think again, it's a big multiverse out there as well too. Clearly the one she was dreamwalking in is still around as well too.
Sure.
It's not that she doesn't have Scarlet Witch powers. It says that she's probably not the Nexus being of that. But does that mean that the Nexus being power moves on to somebody else? Would she be the one that gets that? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of
leaves it open.
There's a lot of what ifs in there, isn't there?
Oh my
weird,
God.
weird.
Somebody cut his mic.
Weird.
Brandy, your overall thoughts on Elizabeth Olsen in this, and where you think this holds for her future with the MCU?
So she's amazing, and in the same way that I'm excited to see female superheroes, I'm excited to see female supervillains, because of everything that motivated her and prompted her to do this, where there's such depth there with her spouse, her kids, who she is as a person. All of that informs her in really interesting ways, and she's a fantastic character. I am done with her. So that said, I could be done. I don't want a different Scarlet Witch.
Sure.
If she's going to stick around, I'd love to see what they do with Scarlet Witch and the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be.
But I'm just as excited to see Disney with their hands on X-Men doing Dark Phoenix, doing X-Men stories, doing
right.
all new characters.
Right.
I'm always excited about the possibilities. So do I need Scarlet Witch to stick around? Would I be devastated? No, because something would take her place. And we just have to be open to it,
Good point. That's a great point.
Before we get to you, Steve, Crash actually says, he goes, I think she's going to take a break from Marvel for a bit to do other things, but she stated that she has other stories involving Wanda in mind, and that she wants to be involved somehow in X-Men. So,
Big
somewhere
X-Men
down the
fan
line.
here.
Yeah.
So, now, Steve, to you, obviously, big X-Men fan. Do you feel like we've seen the last of Wanda, or do you feel this is the best way, a really proper way of closing her arc, and do you want to see her somehow involved with the X-Men?
Have we seen the last of her? I don't think we have. I don't think we're gonna see her for a while. I think this is gonna be it for a good while. Maybe we'll see her at the culmination of the end of this phase.
Mm-hmm.
If this is leading towards Secret Wars,
right.
Maybe we'll see her come back in that somehow. If this is it for her, I think this is a great send-off, a great end to her story.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if they bring her back, maybe it kind of lessens what they did with this a little bit, because it did seem like a good finale for her character in this. Would I love to see her and Quicksilver come back Would I love to see like Magneto come in and them do their story right?
Right, yeah,
Like
absolutely.
make them the Maximovs and like they're mutants again. And I really thought that they were gonna do something with that in this movie after they showed Professor Xavier when he goes and they're in the Mindscape. I thought he was gonna there was gonna be something about her being a mutant or something like that. There's so many possibilities that they can do, whether it be like bringing that version of her character back or whether they bring her back as a character from one of the multiverses, along with Quicksilver and along with Magneto or different Magneto or whatever, and have them be a part of the X-Men universe. I think that would be fantastic. I would love to see that. If they don't, like Brandy said, there's so many other awesome storylines they can do. So many other villains they can do things with. So if we don't see her again, she was great. Yes, she should win an award for this movie because she had really so much range in this movie.
Yes.
But
that
if we do see her again, it would be great.
That her in the air. This is me being reasonable.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That is every woman ever inside at one moment in her life.
This is me being reasonable.
And
when
every
she said
man
that, I was
ever
just
at
like,
some point.
It's about to go
fucked down, man. She's pissed.
We're all the sorcerers
DoctorStrange
on the ground. Like
Right.
One of those sayings that always gets me is "Hell hath no fury." Like a woman scorned, man. Like she was just phenomenal. Now I want to ask you this before we get to the next part of this. I do feel like the multiverse. You guys talk about, do they find a way to get into the multiverse and bring her back? Do you feel like the multiverse could be kind of a cheap out for certain things?
Absolutely.
I mean, we're going to talk about the Illuminati, and I feel like the Illuminati falls into that discussion, how they handle the Illuminati. But, like, when you talk about the multiverse, yes, I mean, that was an awesome finale for Wanda, and I thought it was a really strong way to close her arc. But I do feel like if you reach into the multiverse somewhere down the line and pull her out, you kind of lessen the finale for it. And I feel like that's kind of and like you said, with so many different characters out there and people that you could pull in and put into these movies, I do feel like the multiverse could be abused a little bit to a way where you're just like, are you running out of ideas?
But being the huge X-Men fan that I am, if I see her as a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, I don't care. I don't care about any of that. Right.
We have to talk later about Hellfire Gala. Or Hellfire Club, I should say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think that the multiverse can be a slippery slope?
Yeah, I certainly think it could be a slippery slope. I don't know. I mean, I think really what they're using it for right now is to retcon things and bring things full together that they can come back and use character. I mean, we clearly already know the Illuminati pantheon, that, being able to bring these characters in the way they are. But could it be abused? It could be. Do I really see Disney doing that? I guess not, unless one of their movies comes out and it's complete trash, I guess.
And they got to retcon that.
Maybe they got to retcon that, but, unfortunately...
Like the Eternals?
Right, well... I know. I don't even...
I didn't have an issue with the Eternals.
I didn't either.
The reason, and we'll get to, I don't want to drag it up, but like my thing with the Eternals is, I understand why some people didn't like it. It was a slower movie for sure, and I don't know anything about the Eternals, mind you. And that's why I was into it because I love getting to know these characters in the Eternals. So they spent a lot of time with the character development and a lot of that stuff in there. And for myself, and again, this is all going to be different perspectives, and I feel like that's why the MCU is so cool, because there are people who know this shit inside and out. There's guys like myself who don't know everything there is, but I appreciate the stuff that there is. And when we got to the Eternals, there were some characters I was like, oh, that's dope. And yeah, it was a little bit slower than what we've seen from the MCU, but I appreciated the fact that they took the time to build up these characters that I didn't know shit about. I don't know anything about them. So I do feel like that's a point of a conversation that we can have here, definitely, for sure. But to go back now with the multiverse, and obviously in this movie we saw a weird TV spot where who's the Motor is the Illuminati will see you now.
Moto, yeah.
Moto, and everyone's just like, wow, you just dropped that in a TV spot, a 30-second TV spot. They're just like, the Illuminati is here, and so everyone's like, okay, the Illuminati's here. Tone, the Illuminati shows up on screen, and tell us from left to right, who do we have as a part of this Illuminati in Doctor Strange?
Well, I know, the Patrick Stewart thing was kind of, ruined earlier. However, being able to see him in the yellow '90s classic chair, and
I thought he was gonna cry.
I wondered
Pretty
too.
sure.
Yeah. I know as a big X-Men fan, I was wondering if you were too, but I didn't hear.
I did need
at
tissues,
first.
but not for tears.
Right.
At that moment.
Right.
Oh my.
Different type of tears, everybody.
He was in the cuddle seat for sure.
Yeah. The I didn't catch the first time watching it that they played part of the '90s music.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that until, but I
No.
saw it the second time, and I could kind of hear it. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like that was kind of wild. So
Oh,
that was really.
yeah.
I mean, yes, it's really exciting because we got him back into it. But like, and I'm a big Black Bolt person. Like I was really excited for that. And
I am a big fan of Black Bolt too,
Yeah.
and I don't think anyone else cares.
I don't think a lot of
So-
people really
This guy lost
realize.
his mind when he showed
party
up.
of two.
Yeah,
here.
I'm fine.
Oh.
Clinkum. I'm fine on it because honestly, he's one of the most powerful in Marvel generally. The only other time that I can remember that he got his ass kicked was it World War Hulk, right? Was it World War Hulk when Hulk beat his ass on the moon and then went to Earth and beat up everybody's ass?
He definitely had one of the best death scenes in I think the
Oh
MCU.
my God.
Yeah, like holy shit, and like I was like, I was not excited. I was like jaw dropped. Like
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck just happened? to
So
what?
was everybody in the theater.
Yeah, I was like completely dumbfounded. But like I watched the Inhumans series. It's fucking terrible. It's not good at all. And this is somebody who also like I actually really liked most of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well too. But Inhumans was bad, and the fact that they got is Ansem, is that his name in real life?
Anson Mount.
Yeah, like because he's a really good actor. For the record, he's a good actor. The fact they got him back to play Black Bolt, and he was fucking comic book accurate. Like everything about him, he just looked so good.
So
I was so
make
excited.
comic accurate costumes
You
that
can.
don't look terrible.
You can, and he looked phenomenal. But when seeing him was really exciting as well too. And then you get Captain Marvel, Rambo's in Captain Marvel, which we kind of knew was probably going to happen at some point. It was just really random. They threw that in there here. I feel like was kind of but fine, dandy, whatever, But I know just again we get to the fan casting piece. This was like. And he's been playing all kinds of shit for years about this. John Krasinski wanted to be in this role. Fans wanted him in this role.
I just read the other day that
perfect.
Oh God, who's the newest James Bond?
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig was originally supposed to play play Mr. Fantastic.
Really?
And he dropped out, and then they got John Krasinski to do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
In this particular role in this movie?
In this particular movie, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it was.
That's a bold. That's a bold. I would not imagine.
Crash, get to the internet right now. Crash, get out there.
I cannot see Daniel Craig playing Mr. Fantastic.
I love Daniel Craig, but I just don't see him as Mr. Fantastic.
It was like some MCU thing on Instagram or whatever, so I don't know how.
That's
I don't know how
no
legitimate that
validity
is.
whatsoever. Okay. I think so. I just want to say because we've been leading up to this point. The theater lost their mind collectively.
Yes.
When John Krasinski showed up.
He just appears like Zapper. He just
it was
appears out of thin air. Everyone's like, "Oh shit, there he is!"
Yeah.
It was not A Quiet Place.
No.
Okay.
Oh,
Cut his mic. I gotta cut his mic for 5 minutes.
Good night, everybody.
I said that at the end of the
That
movie
is
too. I don't know if anybody heard me, but I did say that at the end of the movie.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep, we just dropped down to 0 viewers. Thanks, Steve. Awesome.
That's what I'm good for. So
It's right. It's great.
if it wasn't the tissue comment, it was that comment.
Well, Darren's still scarred by the fudgies from last time on the stream, so it's okay.
Look, Fudgies. Okay, never mind. Continue.
Yeah, get out of that. No, I think at the end of the day, the only concern I think people have with the Illuminati now at this point, correct me if I'm wrong, does this mean these characters and these actors aren't going to be these characters anymore? I mean, it's a multiverse, right? So are we safe because there's more of them out there, or are we F because guess what? I don't want at this point now another Professor X casted as another actor for like.
What if they bring in James McAvoy?
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that would be good. I think at this point, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, Patrick Stewart was looking.
He looked old.
rough.
He looked old.
Dude, him having the fucking turtleneck though.
Yeah,
dope,
like he had
right?
the suit from the animated series. It was amazing.
Dude, yeah, that was pretty hype.
I hope we get to see John Krasinski.
That's
as Mr.
at the
Fantastic
very least.
again.
That's what I want.
I feel like that's the one mainstay that has.
They're
to
gonna have to be careful with
because
that.
obviously Rambo. I mean, we still know that what's her name is still
Brie Larson.
Brie Larson is still on board. We know that she's going to be Captain Marvel going forward. Now the thing, Peggy Carter, I think that's interesting. I mean, she could possibly be pulled back in at some point, but I do think John Krasinski, out of all of them, is the one that I'm like, he probably should be Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie. I mean, it just makes sense at this point, and because he's seriously a perfect fit for him. Everybody wants him as that.
He wanted to play that
he
role.
He wants to play the role.
He's cool, but like also super dorky.
Yeah.
You know?
And
So,
it would
like,
be
he kinda-
consistent. It would be consistent with the multiverse. Everyone being the same person. I mean, obviously, Monica Rambeau is different, but at the same time, it's Reed Richards is John Krasinski.
Right, and like he just like. To me, John Krasinski, the characters he's played outside of Jack Ryan, which is awesome, but like he, to me, Reed Richards, like that's like he is Reed Richards. Like to me, like it just fits. Like you said, he's kind of dorky and quirky and things like that.
But he can be a badass when he needs to
Reed's
be.
intelligent as fuck, knows he's intelligent as fuck,
Yep.
and kind of like sometimes gets like tunnel vision about that as well too. And I just feel like Krasinski, even in that few minutes we had him, I'm like, he's literally Reed Richards. Like, now this is perfect, perfect casting. So I wouldn't.
It's kind of Jack Ryan too. I mean, ultimately, like an analyst.
Do you like Jack Ryan?
Oh, Jack Ryan's amazing.
Yes.
Shit, so good.
So like he suits that, and in a way, Reed Richards being the smartest man in Marvel, arguably, yeah, this is perfect.
Amanda
You
Boucher
just got-
says,
you
Steven,
just got called out
hi.
for your sister.
you should make sure your
That's my-
family isn't
That's
watching
my
the
sister,
show.
everybody.
You got
Oh.
Steven.
Hi, sister.
Talking about your tissue issue. Hey, a quick pop quiz. Rank your Jack Ryans. Alec Baldwin, Harrison Ford, John Krasinski, or Chris Pine. Rank them.
Jesus, that's a lot. John Krasinski's is number one. I don't care about the rest.
Wow, really?
Wow. What
Sorry.
about wasn't Ben Affleck?
He was. Some of
Oh.
all
Holy
fears.
shit!
Oh.
Yeah, Some of All Fears.
Some
He
of All Fears.
was.
And
Who just got
that's why he's not on the
out-reviewed?
list.
Honestly, if I had to, I loved Harrison Ford, but I also loved Alec Baldwin in Hunt for Red October. I thought he was fucking awesome
Oh
as Jack
yeah,
Ryan.
that makes sense.
Harrison
too.
Ford number 2. I
Harrison
would go with
definitely
John
number 2.
Krasinski number 3.
No, number 1.
Ben Affleck, and then Chris Pine. That's how I
That
rank
Jack
them.
Ryan series is
My
incredible.
only I would put Chris Pine just above Ben Affleck.
Chris Pine just above.
Just
okay,
above
okay,
Ben
okay,
Affleck
okay,
in that
okay,
one.
okay.
I'm with Tone. I'm just gonna go with John Krasinski because if I have seen the other movies, I certainly don't remember them.
Oh, well, they were your typical 90s action fare.
I'm pretty sure I've seen. What was Harrison Ford? It was,
Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger.
I'm
Those are
pretty
good
sure
movies,
I've
though,
seen those, but it,
Yeah.
you know,
Very,
Yeah, but I mean, for
they
me,
were
it's
just 90s
always
action
going to be
movies.
Alec Baldwin going up against Sean Connery in Hunt for Red October.
I
Like,
forget
this
that.
Fucking
I do
dope
forget
ass
that.
movie. So, Tom Cruise's Iron Man was talked about, but it never made past conversation, as was Namor. But Namor is currently being used in another project.
Yeah, which is an interesting topic for another day.
There was a lot of people that thought Tom Cruise was going to show up as Superior Iron Man.
Yeah.
everyone thought that was him in that scene that was clearly Monica Rambeau.
Yeah.
Like.
You were
I don't
saying
know.
that.
There was a,
From the-
I mean,
from the get-go,
that was the
yeah.
beauty of it. I mean, even though people knew the Illuminati was in this, everyone was still trying to guess who the fuck is going to show up.
Right.
Right.
Is it going to be
Yeah.
Tom Cruise? Going to be Daniel? Well, I didn't know Daniel Craig was part of the conversation. But now here's the thing, you guys. Let's get back to the Illuminati. They get fucking pieced out real quick. I mean, everyone's
do, yeah.
super dope and super excited that these characters are here. And again, we get to see just how fucking nasty Wanda is. And she rolls in hot to this headquarters of the Illuminati, who are like, we're not worried about Wanda. We can do what we want. And they just get fucked up.
Yeah.
And everyone in the theater is like, oh, here's all the characters that we want. John Krasinski gets rubber banded and just
He gets
messed
turned
up.
basically into like spaghetti, and then
He
like
just-
the worst part about that whole thing, like I feel like the Black Bolt thing was shocking because it happened first. and you're
Oh
like,
my God, that
what
was
the
nuts.
fuck? He just got Tom Anderson in Matrix. Like, don't speak.
Well, then, Reed Richards was so arrogant right before that too. He's like, Wanda,
Wanda.
listen,
Yeah.
he could kill you with one word,
Right.
whispered.
Very
Can you
Reed
say anything
Richards.
without a mouth?
Very Reed.
Yeah.
And then the thing about that entire thing was like when he's unraveling, when it gets to his brain, that red little dot comes, you hear a snap, like that was like
He's dead.
horrifying. Yeah, like horrifying. Like, don't get me wrong, like seeing a dude's skull like implode on itself was crazy, but like when you see him just unraveling and all of a sudden like that little red dot where his brain was at and you hear the snap in the theater, I'm like, what the hell was that? That was nuts. Like, see ya, I guess. Like, cool,
I
John.
think Wanda breaking Professor Xavier's neck was like, I was just like, did this just really fucking happen?
That
It
was-
was that. It reached a point where you were like, so you're shocked, right? Like Black Bolt, like, oh my gosh. And then you're just stuck there for the ride, really.
Right.
And you know what's coming after the second one.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like, oh no, they're going to make me watch this one after the other. And then I honestly thought, I was like, oh, it's okay. The women are okay. Like they're gonna, I thought they were going to pull a like,
Right.
no, there's still people who are going to live through this.
Captain Carter gets the Gary Busey treatment in Predator 2 and basically gets split in half with a shield. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Darth Maul.
But you don't get to see
Darth
like
Maul.
all the blood and stuff.
Yeah, know what happened to the poor girl.
Darth Maul.
Yeah.
We got somebody out here. Ming Chen says Marvel is just trying to make less popular characters stay relevant by using a multiverse angle. Interesting.
That's
That's
interesting.
fair.
That's a
I
fair
think
point.
that's a fair point for sure.
I feel like the way they handled the Illuminati has a lot of people talking about how are they going to use the multiverse. I mean, are you doing it for fan service? Are you
Right.
doing it to build up a character to introduce them later on, or is it just like a one-off? Like, how are they going to use the multiverse? This was a big scene. Like, there was a lot of people that were just like, not so much in our theater. I think a lot of people kind of understood what was going on. They understood why they did it. I think a lot of it was to show just how dangerous Wanda was. I think that was the most important thing because you have these powerful characters. You have Professor Xavier. You have all these other characters who are very powerful, and she just does away with them quickly. And that's a part of like building up her character, showing how dangerous she is. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are like, that's bullshit. You bring in these characters that people have been wanting. You bring in Professor Xavier. You bring in all these other characters, and then you piece them out. And there's people who are like, that's cheap. But I think like Tom makes a good point. And again, this is where we go back to the multiverse thing. There is the multiverse. You know, we could see another Reed Richards. We could see John Krasinski in another multiverse. But I do think some of these characters are probably one-offs. But I do feel like John Krasinski specifically is something that they could. Probably they should at this point because I think
they got to be careful with that because you don't want to. Like everybody wanted that, you give it to him, and then like he's pieced out in minutes. So you got to be real careful with things like that.
You really
as well,
do.
too. And I think that's where they're gonna have to. They're gonna find themselves with that as well, because honestly, the fans are. You know, if you do a Fantastic Four movie now, you cast somebody else. You know, what are people gonna say at that point? Like
That's why I feel like it has to be a mixture of both. It has to be a mixture of a couple one-offs.
Yeah.
You know, and then have a couple of people like, okay, look, we have to bring them back. Like, I do not expect Jean-Luc Picard to come back as Professor Xavier. I don't at all. I do feel like if they do anything, they're going to use James McAvoy or they'll recast it.
Yeah.
But like somebody like Reed Richards, John Krasinski, still young, still very popular. People want to see him in it, and we haven't had a Fantastic Four movie. I feel like that's like the most. I think
one.
he's the safest out of everybody to return to the
I would
MCU.
agree with that. Yeah. Well, I wish they would do some good Inhumans, but that's a whole other tale too.
But I would like to see Peggy
think-
Carter. I would like to see Captain Carter. I would love to see that.
I think she'll be back.
But I
as
think
well,
that's
too.
hard to do.
Yeah.
We have another Captain America, so it's
That's
kind of.
true.
I feel like that's one of those things where you're just like, I would love to see it, but they've done so much at building up. What's
Sam Wilson.
Sam.
Building him up as Captain America. I don't think you can bring in a Captain.
Yeah,
Carter.
that can be fair as well too. I think, you know, we're getting to this point now where again we definitely have to be careful. I think there's going to be. Listen, I think the big piece of this movie, and this is one of my bigger points that I wanted to bring up about this movie and the people that do or don't like this movie. First of all, we already know it's not a conventional Marvel movie, and I find it ironic that a lot of the people that complain about Marvel movies always feeling the same, or the phase in the first few phases being pretty much really similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Villains being like mirror versions of themselves and of the heroes or whatever it is. And we're getting into this phase now, whether you do or don't like Eternals or Shang-Chi or anything that's coming out now, No Way Home and now here Doctor Strange. They're doing things differently and people are still fucking complaining, and it's the same people. So you can't have it on both hands. For one, I think that's a slippery slope. Like, you can't say I want something different, I want more, and they're doing that a little bit and kind of like letting directors and people like flex their style a little bit more, and yet we're still complaining about it. Like, I don't know, then don't watch them. Right. Find something else to do. Like, if you can't be pleased on either end of the spectrum, don't waste your money on them. Find something,
Well,
find something else.
I think there's people out there that they just want to complain about.
Oh, yeah.
it,
Oh, there's
no matter
always
what.
going to be people
So
like that.
they're great movies. People are going to complain about them, find things wrong,
Right.
and they're going to say, "Oh, if only they did these the completely opposite way, they'd be good movies."
Right.
Because they don't think they're actually going to do that, and then when they do, then they have to eat their own words. But then
Yeah.
they still.
Or I
complain
feel
about
like-
it,
yeah,
you
so
know?
they got to die on that hill at that
Or I
point.
feel
Yeah,
like
yeah,
these
yeah.
are the same folks
Yeah.
that are going to be like, it's basically the same. If they continue, because that's going to happen. And Disney, I think, understands that if we continue to make these movies,
In comics,
yes,
yeah.
you have different characters and you have different backstories from, but at the end of the day, if it's just the same type of like movie, at some point they're going to be like, well, this is getting boring. It's the same thing. I could have predicted it. I would know what happened. Whereas you take this movie and I fucking couldn't predict anything. I didn't know what Raimi was going to do.
Right.
And again, that's the next point I want to talk about is the Sam Raimi effect and what we've talked about. How is the MCU is letting these directors like do your thing. We know what you're capable of, and we don't want to just do a paint by numbers type of thing. We really want you to like bring it out, and we saw that with Shang-Chi. It was kind of out there. We were just like, oh shit, it's a little bit different than what we're used to. We saw it with Loki, and we saw it with Moon Knight, and now we have this, and you see the Sam Raimi effect. And and I told Tone after the movie, I was like, I can understand why people would have issues with this movie because I felt like, yes, it had the MCU elements to it, and it fit that bill. But this, in my opinion, this was more of a Sam Raimi movie than it was an MCU movie, which I'm cool with because like a lot of you guys think Sam Raimi rocks, and we love his vision. And Sam Raimi has unique vision, much like James Wan or John Woo. There's just certain things you see in their movies. You're like, that's Raimi.
Oh yeah.
And that's that unique style where Disney could have easily said, Raimi, we want you to direct this, but we want you to make it like these other movies. At that point, you're not utilizing the director. You're not using somebody like Raimi who has a unique vision. And
Right.
that's how you separate your movies from the previous couple phases. You let the directors go in there and do their own thing. And that's where I feel like this show benefited from it because I love Raimi. I love his style. But there are people out there who simply don't like Raimi's style because Raimi's style is unique. It really is. He has a distinct way of shooting his movies. I love him. But it's much different than what we've seen from the previous phases.
Yeah.
But I want to get your thoughts. I'm sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
The way that Raimi handled this, you've seen the Evil Dead movies. You understand his style.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
to bring it to an MCU movie of this magnitude, because this is a big movie.
I love Raimi's movies. Obviously the Evil Dead movies, Army of Darkness, the Darkman movies. I watched Darkman I think once a week when I was a kid. Absolutely love that movie.
Great.
And it's fantastic. My favorite scene in this movie is when they're running down the hallway and like she's busting through the doors as they're closing them, like the spillway or I don't know what the basement they're in or whatever. And then they close that final door and you're waiting for her to come through and they like close in on everybody's face like 20 different
Get
times.
that tension.
And I'm just like, this is a bit much, but it's so Sam Raimi. I love it right now. And then she just comes out of nowhere out of the side. And I was like, oh, shit. They got me. I knew they were. I never jumped at a Marvel movie before.
Right.
And that's what I love about this movie is I've never jumped at a Marvel movie before, and this movie got me,
Right.
And I love horror movies, and this was such a good blend of that. And I'm glad they didn't just make this another cookie cutter Marvel movie.
Yes.
This was exciting. I didn't know what was coming next.
Right.
Like I couldn't predict anything that was happening in this movie because of that.
Yep.
And I think that they need to do more of that. Like if you're gonna bring in a director like that has his
Can't
own
hamstring him. You can't be like, you can't do your usual thing. You
exactly.
can't-
Like
right.
why? Then just hire some Joe Schmo director to do your
That'll
movie.
follow.
you know?
Yep.
But I thought it was fantastic, and I want to see more of this kind of stuff.
I do love the homage he pays to Carrie. There's a scene after Wanda pieces out the Illuminati where she's walking into that room
she
and
looks
she's
like
covered in
she's-
blood.
Oh,
and I'm just
yeah.
like, dude, this is such a fucking cool nod to Carrie. I thought that was so dope. And again, but at the same time, it still had that Raimi effect. Like this is fucking gory, it's bloody. And I was like, this is crazy. Like this is a much darker movie than we're used to.
Oh,
But
yeah.
your thoughts, Randy, on the way that Raimi shot this and how it impacted the movie and how it's different from what you've seen before.
So I think, we keep talking about like this really, it stands out from all the other Marvel movies. And I don't know if it's fair to call those earlier Marvel movies cookie cutters of each other. Because I think we're at a point now, so many years later, more years later than I want to add together, where you know, when Iron Man came out, it was different. It was not a superhero movie in
That's
the
true.
sense
That's
that
fair.
what we were used to.
You're right.
And then Guardians of the Galaxy, when that came out,
Oh, yeah.
that blew
That was
my
different, yeah.
mind.
That was like
That
next
was
level.
so
I
different.
feel like that and Thor Ragnarok really kind of set that
Sure.
neat, like, oh, they're gonna do things a little bit differently. And we saw Thor Ragnarok was met with some divisiveness. There were some people that were
Yeah.
like, oh, this is too funny, but
Yeah.
it just had its own type of like of movie.
Really different tone. And then, so when we go back to watch the Marvel movies, that inevitably start with Captain America, I'm always like, oh, do we really have to start with Captain America? Because when you come back
Chronologically,
to
if you
Tone,
want
yes,
to,
right,
right.
You're in order.
because he's so pure, bless his heart, and those movies are unique in a different kind of way, more maybe like a traditional superhero way. They kind of fit that mold, and the other ones are so different. They're faster paced. They're unique. So when you come to this, like, it's unique for sure, but I don't think we're doing service to the earlier Marvel movies if we truly try to lump them together. I think we're just at the point where we're kind of so used to seeing
It's
them
been
over
so
and over.
long. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair. Very fair.
And I just want to say too, like, this, like, Wanda was amazing. Doctor Strange got an arc, and I appreciate you like pointing that out. But like, let's talk a minute about America Chavez.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about, like, okay, so I take a little bit of an issue with the idea that this is just a way to highlight characters to keep them relevant. This was a brilliant way to use America Chavez and have her hopping in and out of the multiverse. And like, how many people knew about America Chavez?
I didn't know anything about her
before
this.
this. So it's like, you could totally take that lens of, like, you know, it's keeping kind of smaller characters relevant, or you could take the lens of, like, this is highlighting some of the brilliant characters that Marvel has that people haven't been exposed to enough because they're not Captain America.
Great point.
So, like, I was stoked. I mean, like, love America Chavez anyway, but, like, stoked to see how she was used, and then her depth there with her backstory.
Yep.
So I was just like, there's so many things to love about this, but Sam Raimi making this the jumpy, scary horror movie it was like a fun ride throughout. Yeah. And people are gonna copy this now, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
I think they
right.
will.
To add on to that, like, you know, what you're saying about the ones that they made first, like the first phase,
Right.
phase 1 or phase
Right.
2 movies and things like that, like, they were very different for when they came out.
Sure.
Like, we're coming off of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, you know, and, you know, for how much of this movie was Sam Raimi, those movies could have definitely been way more Sam Raimi.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think they held them back a little bit. You know, not the best. We had the X-Men movies, which were good. I mean, we're kind of, you know, we're just starting to kind of get this into the mainstream, right?
Right.
You know, we're testing the waters. We had Blade. We had the Ghost Rider movies. You know, they were putting feelers out and seeing how things did. And then you came out with Iron Man, and Robert Downey Jr. killed it with that. And yes, like, now we look back at that and look back at the Captain America movies and think of, like, oh, those are kind of basic. Those are kind of cookie cutter movies.
Sure.
But for the time, they weren't at all.
They
Like,
were
they were
unique.
like blowing people's
great
minds.
Point.
You know,
You
and
guys bring
now,
up a really good point.
you know, if they did this movie back then, like, as like the Iron Man,
Yeah.
you know, it would have been received like Ghost Rider was. It would have been received like Blade was. Like, it would have been looked at as like, oh, this is what comic book movies are. They're a joke.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So I think we're at the point now with these movies where people know that comic book movies are good. These are some of the biggest blockbuster movies of all time now. Like,
these are
these are what the 90s action blockbuster movies were. Like, these are the things that people go to the theater now and they know they're going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, they can do what they want now.
Absolutely.
You know, they can give Sam Raimi a movie and be like, do you, Sam Raimi?
Yeah.
You know? And they
Do
don't have
you,
to worry
Sam
about
Raimi?
it. So,
And I'll say, like, first of all, I want to point out that Crash and El Blanco out there, our lovely Hispanic friends out there, are making jokes about that. That's
We
actually
finally get a Hispanic superhero, and her power
powers
is
of
immigration.
Jeez.
motherfucking. I'm trying not to.
People do it real.
I'm trying not to lose my shit right
It's
now, you
hard
fuckers.
to say he's wrong.
You fuckers. God damn it. Oh my god. But no, I just want to say that, you know, the scene again in that tunnel, she felt and walked and moved and had the red like the red eyes. It was like fucking Deadite territory, and I was here for it.
Yeah.
Way into that as well too. So I thought that was brilliant, and really, America Chavez, everything that's going on there. You know, her eating pizza after she jumps, you know, trying to find food and getting pizza right away. That's a really great nod as well too. I'm glad they added that little nuance as well too. But overall, clearly, you know, Sam Raimi at the helm of this was fantastic. And again, when Wanda came through that mirror, and when she just contorted and did everything, and I'm pretty sure there were different things in that film that were practical effects. I don't know for sure if the dead-ish people or the bat-like dead people were full CGI. I feel like there were some practical effects in there. At least it looked good enough that I believed it was.
It did look good.
Yeah, it looked really good. Like, man, when they started leaning into the Book of the Dead shit and all that stuff, he comes out as a zombie. I'm like, now,
we had Zombie Strange. That was fucking.
That was incredible.
Yeah,
now here's the questions. And I like Crash's question. What's everybody's thoughts on the music fight?
That was one of my favorite parts of the fucking movie, hands down.
It was pretty amazing.
It felt like Fantasia.
Yeah.
I love Fantasia, and it felt like Fantasia to me. I thought it was great. I thought that was probably, and I think I said this after, that was one of the most unique moments in all the MCU we've seen so far.
Yeah.
That was completely on another level of difference.
Had you not let Sam Raimi do Sam Raimi up to that point, it wouldn't have made any sense. But at that point in the movie, I was like, "Fuck it, why not?"
Dude, I thought it was awesome. I think that was.
It fit the tone of the movie. Like, this is where we're going.
Was it James Watson? Whoever wrote the movie, I don't know who did the writing for it, and he said he did a lot of like research on Raimi shit as well too. And of course, Raimi having hand in it, like that was just so completely unique, and I was like in tuned, no pun intended, the entire time through that part. I thought that was awesome.
No, he intended that. He intended that.
He did.
He just doesn't want to own up to it. We did have somebody ask a question. I wanted you guys' thoughts on this. Well, actually, first of all, Tone.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the end credit scene,
Yeah.
because somebody appears in one of the end credit scene that appears in the movie, and you were waiting for it.
I knew it was gonna happen.
It's a Sam Raimi joint.
Didn't we talk about it here too? Didn't we talk about it?
I think it was something that we
he
previewed.
was going to be.
It was something we previewed it, and we waited for it.
Dude.
You know, it's a Sam Raimi joint somewhere.
Dude.
Bruce Campbell has to show up.
And it was
Papa
fucking,
Pizza.
It was fucking perfect.
Papa Pizza. Bruce. As soon as he showed up, I was like, "Tone!" And he lost his shit.
Oh,
He went
fucking
nuts.
perfect. It was absolutely perfect, and the fact that it was a complete 110% homage to Evil Dead with the hand and punching
Oh,
himself.
absolutely.
Like, come on.
It's over.
Yeah. Like, I know there's a lot of controversy sometimes with people waiting for like because my kid was even joking about it too. Like, oh, we waited all the way for that kind of thing, right? Like, she does it to me all the time. Like, but that was perfect for me. Like, I wanted some more deep MCU. Sure.
Yeah.
I would have wanted some more stuff like that. Absolutely. But the fact that it was Bruce Campbell doing a whole bit and just smiling at the camera and saying it's finally over.
So I gotta admit, like, I love that scene, but at first, like, what I wanted was like an end credit scene with the X-Men being like, somebody killed Professor X.
I know.
We gotta fuck some shit.
I know.
Hugh Jackman walks out. What happened to X?
I get it.
Yes, exactly.
I get it. God. Yes.
Man, I love John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I think the only other acceptable person to play him would have been Bruce Campbell, portraying an older Mr. Fantastic. That would have been pretty freaking
He could
sweet.
do that shit. He could do that.
Yeah.
He could do that.
Wasn't he? So Campbell originally, I think, was attached to being Mysterio in the old Raimi films.
Oh yeah.
Did you see
In
that?
Spider-Man 4, he was supposed to be Mysterio in Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, which
Would have been
holy
interesting.
shit.
And that was supposed to be like him throughout all the movies, but like, doing failed jobs until
Ming says, I love the Scarlet Witch. She is, for me, the best character in the movie. No hate for Doctor Strange. Mike Rollins says, I keep telling people I like it, but secretly I thought it was okay. Mind you, I've never seen Sam Raimi movies besides Spider-Man. Now, obviously, that was the end credit scene, and I think there are people that, if you're not a Sam Raimi fan and you're not a huge Bruce Campbell fan, that was probably kind of like you said, would have liked to see something,
What's the bit?
a bigger reveal.
Yeah.
But now, let's go back to the previous end credit scene, the one where Charlize Theron shows up.
Did anybody know that was a thing?
Okay. No.
I did not know
But
that was a thing.
Nobody knew, right?
So,
I honestly-
right before.
You go ahead. You go ahead. You
Right.
might be saying the same thing.
Well, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I thought that was Angelina Jolie from
a little
Eternals wearing a different costume.
Yeah. Like, I
When
was
she
like,
came
for
out,
the-
I was like, what?
I can see that.
Wait.
Why
I
is
thought it was a Dior commercial.
A little bit. No, so right before this release, we're getting Strange #1, the comic book, and it's starring her.
Mhm.
But I don't think when you see her on screen, like for me, it didn't trigger.
No,
that,
it
like
didn't
that's
at
who
all.
this is.
No.
But there's so much depth there with her backstory and this new comic
Yeah,
with her.
yeah.
Like she's feisty. I'm super excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I was so
love Angelina-
confused.
yeah.
I was like,
Not
what,
Angelina.
what does
Charlize
Thea?
Theron.
What does Thea from Eternals have to do? Or what is her
Right.
name? Thena?
Thena.
Thena? What does Thena from the Eternals have to do with
Right.
Doctor
It's
Strange?
ironic 'cause
What's going on
yeah,
here?
Right? Yeah. This is confusing. Yeah. I was
Clea.
I had no idea. I don't think, like I said, anybody had an idea that Charlize Theron.
I don't
was
think
in it.
any. I had never heard any reports about that. Charlize
No.
Theron was signed up for.
Well, that was. I think
for
they
them.
kept that more under wraps
That
than they
was
did the
really
John
impressive.
Krasinski
John
thing.
Krasinski.
Yeah, no
Krasinski,
shit. Yeah, which is really odd, but like, I guess maybe because it's so detrimental to Doctor Strange as a character, maybe
Right.
that's why they did. Because clearly, we all know at this point, like at the end of the day, we know we are heading towards Secret Wars. I think everybody's pretty much in that boat. Yay, nay? You think so?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
one of the things I do want to bring up here, this is really one of the last finer points I want to talk about, is
We're about
just
to nerd
about.
out, I can tell. push up my
Now,
glasses.
let's be clear here. Not the original Secret War, the Marvel
Right.
superhero
Not-
Secret
yeah,
Wars from
yeah.
the 1980s,
Which I do
where we got
prefer
introduced
personally
to the black suit,
Spider-Man. Yes,
you know,
yes,
but
yes.
the Jonathan Hickman Secret Wars, where
Yes.
they brought all the different versions of all these
one of the
characters
finest
together.
writers of our time.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah.
that's another one of those big events in the last decade and a half, right? Of
Yeah.
really Marvel,
Oh,
is
yeah.
Secret Wars. Jesus, that entire whole. I'm really excited for the Secret Wars coming up that we're going towards, but the
Don't it's decided. Like that's
I'm
it.
really excited. That's my feelings
We
on.
welcome it.
Well, I do. I really think that's the point, and this is where it comes into because some of the people that have been punching back on Doctor Strange, just generally as a movie, I feel like, kind of have forgotten that for one, they're building still, right? They're still getting to
Yep.
that point, like
Right.
whether it is Secret Wars or not. Like, again, it totally is, but this is a transitional movie. So people that are out there talking about like, okay, she didn't have like this great character development, this great arc, but Doctor Strange, he really did by the end. He's part of the reason why like America like had confidence in herself. He finally trusts somebody, things of that nature. This is a movie that's building forward, and they've got a plan. Disney has a plan where they're going with this sort of stuff. So like we got some big, great, fun reveals, and I think that was like for some shock value, and then seeing them get pieced out. But there's been people out there saying that they wanted just more building, and I believe that there's going to be ramifications because of this movie. I think things that happen in this movie involving even Scarlet Witch as well too is going to come down to the fact that Earth or that whatever that the Illuminati existed in, because they got pieced out. I don't think that they're the only superheroes in that.
No.
There's
no.
going to be ramifications, and whether that has to do with
They're gonna want justice
our
for
actual
that.
main is it 838?
Yeah,
616 or
Yeah.
whatever it is?
616.
616 and then 838 or whatever it was. I think that's going to be like, if it's going to happen, and I've read stuff of this as well too, but this is where I fall in as well, that's going to be like the Secret Wars. I think that's where it's going to combine some more. Now clearly with the multiverse being so open and they want to focus on that, it could be multiple, I guess. But like, they talked about the incursions, and then she's going to help fix those, or she says, hey, you create an incursion, basically, we go to fix that. Well, that's a direct like two different types of existences clashing on each other. So again, that's why I think it was really that end piece that really kind of made me say, okay, they're definitely building their Secret Wars. So again, everybody out there, I think this was a transitional movie. So for me, like everybody that felt like there wasn't enough, because I've even heard people that felt like that there wasn't enough consequence out there in this movie, which I find weird, because I'm like, okay, well, they introduced a lot of new characters that we wanted before, and they got pieced out in 10 minutes. So like, there's gonna be ramifications. We don't need everything to happen right now. It's building and going to happen down the road as well too. Last thing I say that I read that was really interesting. Some people think that Dormammu is a variant of Doctor Strange. Because keep in mind, who voiced Dormammu was actually Benedict Cumberbatch.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did not know
Yeah.
that
Which
either.
is really random. I just want to throw that out to everybody.
Random as fuck, but
Random as fuck.
informative.
So
I
we
dig
don't know what's gonna happen. Anything is possible, but it's definitely Secret Wars.
But wait.
We
wait.
don't know for sure, but it's definitely Secret Wars.
Clea is Dormammu's niece.
Is Dormammu? Yeah. It
And
gets
if
really,
Dormammu
really.
was a variant of Doctor Strange.
Hey, man.
And that-
That's the Targaryen bloodline. It went straight. Shit happens. It gets lonely in the multiverse.
So I think where this is headed, I absolutely agree. I think Secret Wars, and I don't even know what they would do to top that, because Secret Wars is like such a big event, right? So like,
Yeah.
where are they going to go after that? But I think we're going to see by the end of this phase, and I know it feels like it's taking forever for them to get somewhere, because the other ones seemed like every movie, it was another piece of the puzzle, and it was getting.
But even
closer to
then,
that.
like you were saying, like how they were different when they came out, they didn't really They were building the Avengers slowly, but they
Yeah.
weren't building Thanos until you got to later, till the stones and everything.
Right,
They were
yeah.
just showing
Yeah.
like, here's Thor's
Yeah.
hammer.
But
or
you felt
whatever.
like-
Civil War.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
that was huge.
Yeah, they were hitting those points, right? They were hitting those big storylines, and everything was kind of building to those. And I think this is just taking a little bit longer, because
Yeah.
this is going to be such a big story that
Right.
they're doing. And I think when we get to Secret Wars, I think we're going to see so many characters, and we're going to see multiple versions of the same characters show up in the same in those movies.
Right.
Like maybe we'll see like 4 or 5 different John Krasinski's
That's
as
that's
Mr.
what-
Fantastic.
Well,
show
we
up,
got to
you
get the
know?
Council of Reeds, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
To be
we
fair,
got to. That
we
would
got
be
to.
pretty sweet.
That would be really sweet.
Yeah. So I don't even know what point we were trying to make.
These guys are digging deep.
Yeah,
These guys are
sorry,
digging deep. So
sorry.
I'm gonna reel it back in. I'm gonna reel it back in before we go way down that rabbit hole. But
Give me Dr. Doom.
But overall, I mean, we feel like this was
Yeah.
a great entry to the MCU. It was an entertaining movie. We got a lot of closure with Wanda. We got to see Strange evolve. You mentioned that, he evolved as a character. And overall, it was just an entertaining movie that really kind of hit us in a different way that we've gotten from an MCU movie. We haven't hit a lot of these, like you said, horror tropes, and there was some good scares, there was good action, there was good storylines, and they've kind of again they're moving the MCU forward, but there's a lot of questions, a lot of like, where are they going with this? And up
Secret
next
Wars.
is Thor: Love and Thunder. There's a lot of people that see the trailers are going. We're actually going to take a look at that here in just a moment. We're actually going to take a quick break.
Yeah, because I got to piss.
He's got to pee again.
Good
He's
thing
got
we
a
have
weak ass
5
bladder.
bathrooms
We got a
here
couple
now.
more topics. and then we'll
I
wrap
left
it
my
up.
catheter at home.
But we'll be right back so this guy can go take a leak. welcome back. All right, we have a trailer reaction. Now, these two have not seen the new Thor Love and Thunder trailer. We're going to check that out because we finally get to see Christian Bale's Gore, which is a villain that I am not too familiar with. I'm hoping to get you guys' thoughts on it. Tone as well.
I know he's got a nose, and I know he shouldn't.
Let's check out the trailer.
Perfect. That's the best comic yet.
The new trailer for Thor Love and Thunder.
Cut it.
Kids, get your popcorn now. Let me tell you the story of the space Viking, Thor Odinson. He was no ordinary man. He was a god. After saving planet Earth for the 500th time, Thor set off on a new journey. Well, he got in shape. He went from dad bod to god bod. And after all that, he reclaimed his title as the one and only Thor. Oh, spoke too soon.
Jane? The old ex-girlfriend.
What's it been like? 3, 4 years?
8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, give or take.
Am I sensing feelings?
Well, you're right. The only ones who gods care about is themselves. So this is my vow. All gods will die. I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
He's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first. You are not like the other gods that kill. Because I have something worth fighting for.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick.
Oh, you flipped too hard, damn it!
Shall we help him? And eventually, grape.
Oh man.
There were 3 hammers shown in that
There
video.
were 3 hammers in there, 2 of them which are PG, and the
Oh
other
my
one not so much.
goodness.
Brandy
Oh
needs a
my
moment.
goodness.
That's the real Stormbreaker.
That's right. Goddamn right. Goddamn right.
There comes
So-
the flood.
That is our second trailer of Thor Love and Thunder, but it's the first time we've seen Christian Bale. Obviously, that was the other big casting for this. Obviously, we saw Russell Crowe as Zeus again.
Love it.
But we have we've seen Christian Bale as Gore here. Now, I don't know anything about Gore. I don't know how much you know about Gore, but could you give us a little insight on who Gore is?
So Gore, if
want
I'm
me-
remembering it right,
you want me to
you've
take
read it
this
more
one?
recently than
Yeah.
I have.
Oh, let's go to
Yeah.
Brandy. Go, Brandy, get us.
So Gore, the God Butcher. I mean, just a really vicious villain. And you talk about a villain with a backstory, like we've been talking
Yeah.
about. Here's a kid who's been abandoned by God, and he's eating stones growing up, and then he and I hope this isn't too much of a spoiler from the comics, but he loses his children one by one to hunger, and he's devastated. He's broken. He has a reason to hate gods, because here are these gods feasting and all of this,
And they don't answer his prayers.
and they don't answer his prayers.
For,
They don't show up.
save him and his family.
And so he's a villain with so much depth. I'm so excited to see. I'm so stoked to see Christian Bale play it, but damn, did they fuck up his look. They fucked it up big.
How did they fuck it up? How should Gore look as opposed to how they have him implemented here?
So Gore in the comics, he's very clearly an alien. An alien being, and he looks like Voldemort. I mean, like
I was just gonna say when you said the nose thing, I'm like, if they take nose away, he's gonna look like Voldemort.
and maybe that's why they didn't
I'm
do
guessing.
it.
Too
But he
much
has,
similarity.
he has no nose, and then he has
he had,
like tendrils coming off, kind of like a Twilight
yeah,
Star
exactly.
Wars.
2 big tentacles.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they were trying to not make him look like that, but he really just looks like a pale version of himself from The Machinist right now.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Josie Wells says gore is powder on meth.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
In this movie, he
Yeah.
definitely looks like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gore
But I
looks
mean,
like-
obviously, if
yeah.
you get somebody like of Christian Bale's caliber, it's awesome to bring in. I mean, you don't just bring in some nobody to
Right.
play a villain. You bring in somebody who has range, and you talk about his backstory. So I mean, there's gonna be a lot of emotion there. Now, whether or not they nail the look is one thing, but I mean, at the end of the day, when you go see the movie and it's Thor going up against Gore, if he can be menacing but also have a reason, I can't help but wonder if maybe there'll be some, people will be more forgiving of it as long as the character himself is interpreted correctly.
I'm wondering too if there's gonna be, and maybe this is like overthinking it, but sort of a transformation because he becomes more evil, so to speak, as he progresses into the thing that he, didn't want to be.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see a physical
And
transformation
that would be-
go along with that.
Maybe, and again, this could be Disney doing their thing with the trailer. Here's
Yeah.
what you see now.
Right.
Because Disney's done a really good job at keeping that authentic look, and people like Mysterio, everyone's like, holy shit, he's got the fishbowl head. I mean, everyone's really excited about that. Maybe at some point, like you said, this movie, you see that transformation to be more identical with what you would expect of the character.
Yeah.
I hope so.
If not, I'm sure it's still going to be good. I mean, he's a fantastic actor, so I'm sure he's gonna play
been
the role well.
Best Batman.
I feel like the
I
Thor
think he
movies,
really was amazing as Batman. So
I liked him as
but
I liked him as
listen,
Batman. I know. Yeah.
Best
Total's not a
Batman
fan.
was
I thought he was a really good Batman.
I figured I would ruffle some feathers.
I can't do it.
the problem?
But here's the thing that I like about the Thor movies
Can't do it.
is the Thor movies have transitioned more than any other of the MCU trilogies and whatnot. I mean, in terms of what you saw from the first Thor to what we've seen, especially from Thor Dark World to Thor Ragnarok.
The character itself in the MCU has split a lot of the fans, and like I'm one of the rarities. I don't hate Dark World like everybody else. I
thought Dark World was good. I like Dark World.
I know I
just
stand.
like the character.
I
man.
stand really alone on that one. Like I did not hate Dark World. I thought there was a lot of cool visuals in that movie, and I like dark elves. So inherently, I'm like, oh, there's elves. Haha, cool, fun. So whatever.
I will say the first 2 Thor movies are probably some of the least memorable MCU movies.
Yeah, and
for
especially
me.
the first one's very not at all, really quite bad. But I know that there are people out there that don't like when Taika took over for Ragnarok.
I love Ragnarok is where I feel like this series, now this character and these movies have some fucking life.
Right,
injected
and I
into
think
them.
that the problem is, and like, listen, for people that are big Thor fans that don't, I understand that. Like, I'm very, as we all know, I'm a lot of times hardline on like protecting like source material properties and things like that. So for those out there, and like, listen, Thor's my second favorite Avenger after the Hulk, of course. Those are my 2 favorite Avengers by far. But I really like Chris Hemsworth. I love his delivery.
He's awesome.
And like, the MCU, yes, is a different version of Thor, and I enjoy like what they've done with him. Like Ragnarok is still in one of my top probably 3 favorite Marvel films, and like somebody else said, they watch it monthly. I will watch that nonstop and be perfectly fine on that.
His take on Thor is just something I think a lot of people can relate to. He's badass when he needs to be.
Yeah.
When he shows up in style. But he's also got that charming dimwit thing going on where he's just kind of a lunkhead at times, but then he's also charming and he's funny.
Right.
But again, when it comes down to battle, and like you're just like, this guy can fucking level a battlefield real quick.
Right.
And I think that's why it just makes his character so universal to a lot of people, because like he's something for everybody. My wife loves when Thor's there.
She likes his hammer. Don't lie to me.
She was
right
disappointed
now.
when he showed up in Endgame looking like Jeffrey Lebowski, but everyone loves Thor for various reasons. I think Chris Hemsworth is an awesome Thor because he does maintain that badassery you would expect from a superhero. When he shows up, man, and he brings down the hammer and he's lighting up, you're just like, that's fucking dope. But then when he just lets off that goofy, like lughead vibe, you're just like, he's funny too, man. Like he's dope, he's awesome, he's somebody you can relate to.
Which I think that a lot of people out there that do want that kind of like more traditional Thor, like speaking thou and thee and things like that, maybe. I do feel like that there is sort of him being kind of a lughead in a sense is kind of a different version of that kind of sameness, because Thor's kind of old school, which means kind of a square, and like there's many ways that like this version of Thor is kind of a square sometimes as well too. But do you guys hear that very often from Thor fans, like about how they don't like Ragnarok? Because I got a couple friends out there that they don't like him because they don't enjoy him because
I
he's
liked
too jokey.
Ragnarok when I first saw the trailer. I was like, as soon as I saw the trailer for Ragnarok, I was like, I love where they're going with this.
Yeah.
That 80s vibe, that fucking just cosmic. Wow. I was like, and it just fits the character that they created in the first two movies. I thought he was kind of out of place in the first two, because he was just kind of like this goofy guy. I was like, man, put him in a goofy premise. And he go out there and there's Jeff Goldblum and all these other characters. You're like, this is where I want to see Thor. He can still be a badass, but there's some good laughs to be had. There's some humor in there, and just how goofy the character can be at times.
I think that is Jason Aaron's Thor.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's Thor to a certain extent. Like, even Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology, like as he presents Thor, Loki was the clever one, the genius one, and Thor was the rugged, handsome, playful,
almost entitled in some ways.
Yeah, one. Like, and it sort of checks all those boxes. So Chris Hemsworth playing that with that, like those comedic moments, it really, I think, does the character a good service in terms of how it portrays him, because he's got some deep backstory with some like serious daddy issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, and
absolutely.
the trauma he dealt with after Infinity War.
Yep.
Yeah.
Done some. Well, clearly this has kind of come full circle, that arc or whatever too.
Yeah.
I do think we see two very different versions of Thor in these movies. Whereas I said, like the first two Thor movies are not very memorable to me.
Right.
Sure.
Like Ragnarok absolutely is, and I think in those first two movies they were kind of taking him too seriously.
Yes, exactly.
And you can't. He's a character where, like you said, you can't really take him too seriously. You need to put him in these kind of out there. I mean, he's a god. He's the god of thunder, like, and he's on a team with a World War II soldier and a guy who made a suit out of armor, and like. No, he's got to be like out there and
it's
fantastical.
Objectively
In the first Avengers, he was like, "You humans are so petty." Like he doesn't take anybody seriously. Like, he just knows that he's leaps and bounds above everybody. And so when you put him in the more grounded reality of Thor and even Dark World, you're just like, I want them to like build on that humor, because he's above everybody. He's a very powerful god. And when you're trying to ground him in Thor and Thor Dark World, just kind of like, I don't know if it really fits. He could wipe out all these people out if he wants.
He's had some really badass stories, and I like, very honestly, like, I'll never forget, because I was actually, this is why I never forget this. I was in Grand Rapids for a Marilyn Manson concert when they announced that Jane was going to be Thor, and everybody lost their not everybody, but a lot of people lost their proverbial mind on it. And I was all like, it's kind of fucking neat. That's fucking neat. Like, I was blown away by that. But if you remember too, like when they did the Captain America angle where he was a Hydra agent all those years as well too, look what people lost their mind over that shit as well too. So I love that we've come full circle to this point now, and Jane gets to be Thor as well too. Like, I'm so fucking excited for that.
How are they going to introduce Jane as Jane Thor? Like, how is this going to be a multiverse thing, or is like I don't understand. I guess I don't know the storyline. How does she?
That is a good question.
I'm curious to how she gets brought in. Is this something from a multiverse thing? Like, because obviously the multiverse is a thing going forward, or is there? How do you explain Jane having these abilities?
Where is the last time we saw her in the movies?
Dark World.
Was
8
it
years
Dark
ago.
World? Was she on
She
Asgard?
had that. She got hit with that. What was
The Aether,
yeah.
whatever it was, and
she was saved in Asgard.
and they theorized that she was Blip because she's like, what? It's been 3 years, and he's like, no, more
8
like
years.
8.
Yeah, it's
more like
5
8.
years.
So that she's missing 5 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they're pretty sure she got Blip, but like the Mjolnir she has is from Thor's actual Earth because it's in pieces.
So I think the best way to explain this is to remind everybody that there's the Mighty Thor Volume 1. That's our book club pick right now.
It's a valid point.
Sure.
It's a valid point.
So this is in canon. This is in the storyline of how Jane becomes Thor. How she becomes Valkyrie and Thor and like
right.
and like I'm
Right.
super excited about this because this is an amazing transition and I think if you don't know that that's coming, you might go like, you know, like
Right.
how is this
And that's where
happening?
I'm at. Like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, I'm like, how
Yeah.
does she, you know, get these abilities? So I'm kind of curious to see how they bring it to the screen. So it'll be really
I'm
interesting.
gonna
to see.
guess they're not gonna lean into the comics with her being sick or anything like that. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? It would be cool if they did.
Yeah.
Because I really like that. But you know,
Jay Hill says, I thought she had a sickness or something in the comics, and they do something to
Right.
make her Thor.
yeah.
Yeah, so like in the comics, if I'm remembering it right, like his hammer falls to Earth and he can't pick it up anymore.
He becomes unmighty, right?
Yeah, he's unworthy and he can't pick it up anymore
Unmighty.
because of something that Gore said to him,
Mm-hmm.
like whispered into his ear. So he didn't have the
And then
confidence
he's got
to
because I
pick
think
it
in
up.
the trailer he's got is it what's the axe called?
Stormbreaker,
Stormbreaker.
Oh
Yeah.
what isn't there
Yarnborn.
Yarnborn
Yeah. So then you see like at the end of that storyline where he can't pick it up, you see like somebody else come along and you just see like a hand pick it up, and then in the next issue you see, she's Thor. So they never really like they never really explain like, well, I'm
Why
sure they
her?
do why
Yeah.
her, but like she's like worthy enough to pick up that hammer.
Do you think
You
that
know?
leaves it open for interpretation of how they can present that in the movies? You know, if it's not quite clear in the comics, you know, maybe in the movie they'll have their own way of like saying, here's how she's worthy of it, here's how she has the ability. I mean,
Yeah,
based
I'm
on
sure.
based on the character that we've seen of Jane, like how I'm curious to see how they do that. You know, like I said, in Dark World, that's the last time we see her.
right
What happens between then and this, where she has the ability to wield
Yeah.
that?
Right.
yeah
So that's going to be really interesting, and that's July 7th, and you're going to do what you can to try to do another showing. That's going to be exciting.
It'll happen.
yeah
I do want to bring up one last thing, not to interject, but the curiosity of Gore's blade, because as we know, Sony has full hands-on when it comes to anything related to Spider-Man. But how do they handle? Is it Null? Right? Am I saying that right?
Oh, yeah.
Because if it's truly the
It's a
Black
necro
Blade,
sword.
or whatever, that's I mean, he's the father of the symbiotes and everything. Like, we've got symbiotes now in the MCU at the very least because of some of those terrible movies that Sony's been allowed to make. But how is that going to fit into that piece? Because is he separate enough from Spider-Man where they can do things with that? Because that's a pretty big deal with that sword.
Sure.
You know, so that's like, besides the question, like I've got to say this out loud as well too, real quick, and then I'll go back to the sword. But I want fucking Beta Ray Bill. God damn it, I just want Beta Ray Bill.
Who Bale was rumored to play as well. We
That's
didn't know it
actually
was
true.
gonna be
You're right.
him-
You're
him
right.
Or and I guess Gore was the one who would look better with a nose.
Right.
in the movie.
That's a good point. Yeah, and we've seen Beta's been hinted in. The race has been in the and it was an End War as well too. That race that he is or whatever. But but the question is, what's up with the blade? Like, is that the actual? It has to be, right? Like, I mean,
Well,
it has
yeah.
to be.
So either it has to be, and they have to give it some kind of origin,
Full
in the
circle,
movie,
yeah.
or they just don't say
Right.
anything about it at all.
I mean-
and we are the only ones that know what it is.
Right.
As fans,
Unspoken.
Right.
Yeah.
You see him plunge into that one planet, just like anything else, and all of a sudden you see like he's busting open this planet. Like what the like? It's clearly quite powerful. It helps him kill gods. So there's gotta be.
oh wow
Yep.
oh okay
Yeah.
Disney's
so-
got some splaining to do.
So that's it. So yeah. So anyways, that's the big win, or the big thing for me is like the sword. Like that's like as excited I clearly I love Ragnarok. I think it's brilliant. I love the retro-y, there's certain Jack Kirby vibes in that as well too. Like, and I feel like this is a good progression and kind of like more of that like 80s retro-y and stuff like that. I mean, they're playing, clearly. I mean, we went from Led Zeppelin now to
Honestly, I feel like Thor, the Thor movies have gone through the Evil Dead transition. I mean, honestly, you look at Evil Dead was a certain type of movie.
yeah.
And then when you get to Evil Dead 2, you see the transition. You're like, oh, this is not
we're
just
transitioning.
what
Then
you
you get
think
to
it
Army
is.
of Darkness.
Yeah. And then you get to
yeah.
Army of Darkness, and you're just like, oh, shit, this is so different. I feel like that's the transition that Thor is going through. It's just they realize this is the direction we have to take this in order to make sense. And I feel like that's the same type of vibe you get with Evil Dead.
Sure.
Is how they're taking this Thor thing in a completely different direction compared to when it started.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hail to the king. Hell yeah. But I know we're excited for that. That was a good trailer. Again, the Sweet Child of Mine, just magnifique.
Yeah.
A fine
perfect.
choice.
Perfect. Good.
A
good
fine
stuff.
choice. So July 7th, if you visit Koi Comics, make sure you come by because at some point they're going to be like, yo, you want to come see the
Probably
movie?
like next week, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying. You heard it here. You heard this guy say it. Next week? Probably. At some point, they're going to get things locked out. I'm really excited about that, man. It's going to be, again. Now, what else? Have we gotten any trailers for anything else? Is Thor the only one that we have announced or a trailer for the rest of the year?
Is there a fall Marvel MCU movie yet? Do we know?
I thought Thor was the fall one. That's how completely out of this that I am right now.
I
Out
know
of
we've
the loop.
got a.
They've been playing it so close to the chest with their.
Yeah.
With their
They're out there. I'm
trailers.
sure the dates are out there. Crash. What is after Thor? Because he'll know.
She-Hulk's coming out. We got that trailer.
Yeah.
That's true.
That looks fantastic.
I thought She-Hulk looked good.
Stoked.
I'm curious to see how they.
I know
do
the
that.
CGI is questionable, and I am very
I
questionable
love the
about
idea of the character though. The way they presented it.
However, it looks like it's really true to the character, like everything surrounding the character, which to me is a little bit more important.
Cross is I forgot Wakanda Forever.
Oh yeah.
I believe that is the fall title.
We got to talk about.
That's gonna be.
gotta talk about Namor at
I
some
think
point.
that
I'm
one's gonna
excited
have a
about
lot of
that.
emotional weight behind it. That's gonna be.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll be curious to see how they handle it. That's gonna be.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's gonna be a big one. So
hopefully Namor just putting water everywhere.
And
she Shrek, Princess at Law. Knock it off, Blanca. All right, we have one final thing to discuss.
God damn it.
It is something that I know we're all big fans of, and I know a lot of y'all are fans of. Stranger Things Season 4.
Same day as Obi-Wan.
That's right. This weekend's gonna be wild, dude.
Yeah.
If you're into movies,
I will be watching
you
Stranger
have
Things.
Top Gun.
Yeah. Okay.
You have Top Gun this
Okay.
weekend. You've got Stranger Things Season 4, and you've got Obi-Wan. Holy shit,
Yeah.
dude!
On
It's
a holiday
supposed to be the weekend. It's a holiday weekend. You're supposed to be out the beach. I'm gonna be like, fuck, take the kids to the beach. I'll be downstairs if you need me. I got shows to watch, yo. So here's the thing about Stranger Things Season 4 that I think is really interesting, and it's something that broke earlier this week. Let's take a look at this, you guys. We know that episodes 1 through 6 are an hour and 15 minutes.
oh my goodness.
Episode 7, an hour and 38 minutes. These 7 episodes drop on Friday. These are lengthy episodes. These are long episodes. But then episode 8 and 9, which drop on July 1st, an hour and 25 minutes. And the season finale, this is not the series finale. We do know there is a season 5 coming. The final episode is 2.5 hours. We know the budget is $30 million per episode.
Oh my goodness.
And everybody wonders why your Netflix subscription is going up.
$270
Worth
million.
it.
Yeah, that's bananas.
$270
Goddamn
million
right.
dollars for this season. This rivals
That's
a lot of the
crazy.
MCU movies in a single shot.
Crazy. Somebody's saying this is season 4, part 1.
Season 4 part 1 is episodes 1 through 7.
Okay, 1 through 7,
And then part
8
2
and 9.
will be 8 and 9 in July.
They're gonna make us wait till July.
July 1st.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
here's the thing, you guys. This is a lot different than what we've seen. We've taken shows like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And everyone's pissed how the way they ended that series. And a lot of the times when we watch these
Trash.
shows, they try to squeeze so much into 48 minutes or something less. Netflix has said, fuck that. We're going hour and 15, hour and 38, hour and 25, and 2.5 hours. And this, dude, when I saw 2.5 hours, I was like, that's series finale. This isn't even the final episode of the series. We have a season 5 coming.
That's nuts.
The season
Every
4.
episode is going to be 3 hours long.
Right. It's crazy to think that. It's crazy to think that. No, they're not dropping an episode per week, Jimmy. Episodes 1 through 7 will be available this Friday. And then episode 8 and 9 will drop on July 1st.
Well, they're giving you all that time to be able to watch them because most of us work or have things to do. So
and you
you
get
know.
multiple viewings to see what you
Oh, yeah.
missed. and all that jazz.
Right.
We wanted to catch up on the series up till now. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously
we started.
we've seen
yeah.
it all,
Yeah.
and we restarted the first season, but
This
life
is
Yeah,
gets
life.
in the way.
Yeah.
Sure does.
this is unprecedented for a way. I mean, you never see this. You never see. I mean, that's always been the complaint with a lot of series, is they're trying to cram so much shit into under an hour. Netflix says, "The hell with that.
Well,
We're going to give you monster episodes with monster content to flesh this shit out."
it is, I would say, fairly probably their biggest flagship on Netflix. I think I would say that personally. Like, what else can you think that's bigger?
Well, based on Netflix's number, remember there was a poll that came out last year where
sure.
they looked at their top series, and I think Stranger Things was like 7th, which is fucking nuts.
Which is nuts.
Which is nuts.
I think it's because it's been so long since the last
Squid
season
Game
came out.
Yeah, Squid
Oh.
Games came
Yeah.
out and went nuts, and that was like number
Sure.
2 or some shit.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
even then on Netflix, number 7, you're no slouch. But this
Sure.
this is great. Ozark.
Yeah.
Never won. I don't think Ozark ever won. I don't know how long. I haven't watched the final season, but I know Ozark.
Yeah.
Every episode I've seen so far is nowhere near an hour.
No. I think the only thing I
Love
worry
is
about is the
blind.
same thing that some of the people are saying about it now is that it's bogged down too much by the time, like almost like watered down, or like it's not. Like the time that they're putting into these episodes is a little too much.
2.5
Oh my
hours is a long.
God.
It is.
That's a beefy
I'm
episode.
so tired of
Give me a
people.
7-hour
Right.
episode.
He wants, as long as it gives me what I want, 7 hours.
That's how that's kind of how I look at it as well too.
I
Like,
mean, Christ, dude, Dune was 2.5 hours,
yeah, it was
Oh,
awesome.
and it was amazing.
and we're getting
it was.
one. I mean, Dune's an amazing movie. I love Dune, but I mean, man, this is wow. This isn't a series finale. This is a season finale. Like, does that set a precedence for season 5? And also,
Yeah.
what kind of impact? I mean, depending on how this is handled, does this also change the way we look at series going forward on every platform? I mean, you look at a lot of these shows; they're ending
Yeah.
48 minutes,
Yeah.
and everyone's like, and how many times, Tone, have we watched these shows? And we love the episodes, but what do we always say?
It's only 48 minutes.
Or I wish it was a little bit longer.
Right,
I wish it
right.
had one more episode.
I wish it was a little bit taller. I wish
it was a baller. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, 2.5 hours for a season finale?
I mean,
Hefty.
I don't know. Like, I know that the numbers say differently, but to me, when I look at Netflix, the biggest and most amazing thing I see is Stranger Things.
Sure.
You know, I love Squid Games. It was I loved it so much. Like, I want it to be preserved in that season 1. I didn't want to see.
I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I don't want it to ruin
A
the season
little
1,
bit,
right?
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You know, but Stranger Things, like, they
Black
could do this
Mirror.
for 2. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another good one
Yeah.
too. They could do Stranger Things for 2 decades, and I'm gonna watch probably every minute. Like, I don't mind seeing these guys geriatrics in the fucking home in their little
I will
wheels.
say
and stuff.
those kids are looking weird.
Well,
They're
Even
that-
Finn,
they're
Finn
in that
Wolford,
awkward stage
Right,
right, now. And it's
right.
just like
Yeah, you know that they're
What
growing
are
hair in
you?
funny places. They're itching funny.
you're
Yeah,
starting to
yeah.
realize, these are childhood stars for a reason. Never
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to be
yeah.
leading
That's
them
fair,
going
that's fair.
forward.
terrible.
But I mean, if there's guys out there doing 40-year D&D campaigns, why can't Stranger Things do the same thing? Like,
Well,
Not
that's the
wrong.
thing that's crazy, right? It's like, how excited are we to watch a group of kids play D&D again?
Right.
Like,
Oh.
I can't wait.
You're right.
So
it's like
awesome.
20 years ago. You're like, hey, do you want to watch a show about these kids who play D&D?
What?
well, you got to be careful. You know, it's funny too that we say that because there's those conspiracy theories out there that say that this show, at the end of it, when we get to season 5 or whatever,
None
that
of it was real.
It's all
right, it was all D&D.
All D&D.
How would you feel about that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, you're okay with that. You're not.
100%
Okay, okay.
I think
that
the fact
happens.
that we're all talking about
Yeah.
now, it would be kind of disappointing if that's
Yeah.
what it
Okay,
was.
that's
Because I
fair.
don't want to figure it out. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to figure it out.
Like they are adults at the
Like,
end
I
of the
would love it.
series,
I would-
like playing D&D.
Right, that you'd be fine with that.
in somebody's mom's basement still, and it's like these characters are all the characters they created
it
for
makes sense,
themselves.
but because that's if that somehow becomes the popular belief, then I'd be like, I don't want that.
But that's
'Cause I
what
wanna be caught off guard.
Watching that first season, like that's what I thought, right? And were you
Yeah.
right to think that?
Yeah,
Like,
kinda, yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
Demogorgon is
I
it
actually
real? Is it
never
because
thought
they
that.
created that.
I never thought
Really?
that
Never-
for
oh,
once.
wow,
Yeah.
damn, okay.
Did you watch it?
I did watch it,
Like
but
the final episode is gonna be Will when he's 90, just playing with himself, and all of his friends are dead, and he's just like, Whose turn is it?
Yeah.
And then just credits.
Dude, he just wants to play D&D with his friends. That's all he wants.
Like we were rewatching the first season. It's like, man, this kid is hardly in this show. Like all these other child actors
What the fuck is Will?
probably became like best friends on the set, and he's just like off, and he's in the trailer like, can I come out today?
No.
Do I have a scene today?
No.
You don't. Get back in there.
Go play D&D with your non-friends, kid. Your trailer.
No, I don't know about you guys, but I'm super hyped about this season. I am still pissed at Netflix for the way they handled the teaser for season 4. Because I remember when the hype came out, I was supposed to be like, oh, season 4 teaser's up. And we're all still reeling with the fact that Hopper died at the end of season 3. Everyone's like, fuck, Hopper's dead.
I was so heartbroken.
It was an emotional scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember seeing people go, oh, YouTube, go to Netflix YouTube, the teaser's there. And boom, you go, look, there's the thumbnail. There's Hopper in the thumbnail. I haven't watched the trailer yet. He's on the thumbnail.
I mean,
and then you run the trailer, and it's this dope-ass trailer where they're in Russia, and you just see this dude beating the railroad tracks, and it comes around, and there's Hopper, and you're like, fuck yeah. But I was like...
No time for it to sink in.
It's just like, I already know he's here because he's in the fucking thumbnail. I'm like, come on.
He died. No, he didn't die. He died.
But
the off-screen died.
Didn't know that.
The off-screen died.
But at the same time, they built it up so well.
Yeah.
It was a really emotional send-off.
And he's such a good character.
I love Hopper.
He's such a good character.
And I'm just a Harbor fan. I love Dave Harbor. I think he's an amazing actor. Yeah. But when I seriously went to YouTube and on the fucking Netflix page, there's a picture of David Harbour and it says season 4 trailer. I'm like, dude, at least let me watch the trailer first.
I figured they would keep that closer to the chest. I just wanted more illusion there, maybe as well too. But
we shouldn't know that he's gonna be alive,
right?
Until we see him come back,
right?
That's
how I felt about it.
But I mean, at the same time, I didn't mind that he showed up in the teaser.
Yeah.
It was a sweet way to show him. I thought the teaser was great, but I was just like, why is he in the fucking thumbnail, dude? Just put Stranger Things, show the Upside Down, show whatever, show the kids playing D&D.
That's a
good
question.
Do you think any major characters will die this season?
I don't know. Hopper. But I do know. But here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. Now the showrunners might be bullshitting. Maybe they're saying whatever. But I don't know about the season. But they said season 5 is a lot of the actors. Not the showrunners. Excuse me. The actors were like, people gotta die. They didn't say people will die. They say people have to die. So I don't know how, but by taking that, I don't know what to expect from this season. But for them to say about season 5, people have to die. Not people will die.
Will's brother will definitely be dead. Maybe his mom. Maybe Hopper for real.
She's pushing 70 at this point.
I mean, I'm just trying to think where we start in the X's. Yeah, I'm just Yeah, I'm just kind of it's like Clue right now, probably with a candlestick.
But Brian, I do feel like, in order to wrap up this series, even if season 4 is in the final season, I think there does have to be some kind of a major loss.
Well, it tells you something.
It's
Steve.
No!
Steve's time.
Yeah.
His hair is so beautiful.
If you thought Hopper was dead, then you don't know how much Stranger Things can get.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't.
Blanco, you're blocked for the month.
Block that shithead.
I can't. So in the trailer, and I feel terrible about this. We just watched the trailer before the show tonight.
Oh, really?
Because we're like, oh, shit, Stranger Things. Oh, it's coming out. We got to watch the trailer.
Yep.
That's how out of the loop we are with this stuff right now. But, they're wearing Hellfire Club t-shirts. Do you get that reference?
I don't.
No? Tone?
Yeah.
Yeah. X-Men, the Hellfire Club.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So and they going back and watching season 1, trading comics was huge. And they're even trading some of their X-Men comics and some of the early issues.
So one of the issues they trade is the first appearance of the Hellfire Club.
So it's definitely a direct. They're doing it on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the showrunners are that's my point. You know what? I'm gonna say it. Even if these episodes are watered down and boring and they drag on and it's too much time,
which they won't.
But
There's no
even
way.
if it's nonstop pop culture references to those times and things like Hellfire Club, fuck it. I'm in. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
None of these episodes in the last 3 seasons of the show have been letdowns at all.
No.
No,
Like, this has
I've been fully
an
vested.
awesome
I love
show.
it. I love the
What
way
up,
they've handled
Virus?
the characters. I love the way they've handled the characters and the story. I'm fully in.
Yeah.
And you know what, dude? And I do understand your concern, like how watered down can it get over time. But we have seen what these writers are capable of, and
Right.
if they can it's going to be a huge risk.
Well-
if it's 2.5 hours of compelling
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
I will fucking tip my cap and be like, you know what? That's incredible.
And that's not me talking. I'm just saying that's what's being said.
it makes sense, though. It
some of
makes
the
sense.
reviews are coming out there, but we've also are people out here that me and Dude have watched certain things, and like everybody in the world hates it. We're like, well, it's a slow burn. It's just a character, and people are like, well, I'm too bored for that or whatever. But like, I like that kind of burn with things like that. I just know that your favorite character is Billy, and he's got like 3 or 4 posters of him on his ceiling.
Billy's dope, man.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Billy's pretty cool. Okay. He was the Red Ranger
He
in that
was the
terrible
Red
Power
Ranger,
Ranger.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
is that too big of a nerd thing to say?
No,
No,
because
not at all.
did you hate that movie?
No,
I didn't really either.
I liked it. The only things I wanted
How
more.
that started though. Did you hate that?
I wanted a morphin. It's morphin time scene.
Yeah, I know.
Like where they morphed.
I did too.
I wanted to see the Megazord come together.
Megazord
And
was
I
a little
think
bit of
those
a
are the
letdown.
2 big things that I
Yeah.
wanted to see.
I didn't like that the Mastodon had 6 legs.
That was weird. It was like a beetle. I didn't like that. And I wanted to see Jason David Frank come back as the Green Ranger, no matter how.
No matter
weird
how
that
what.
would've
Yeah,
been.
I know.
I don't care.
But we got a cameo at the end with.
Something.
Brian says, I've watched
Yeah.
1,000 episodes of One Piece. Don't talk to me about slow burn.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's good.
Ask me about my Naruto watching. So yeah, trust me,
We should make shirts that say that.
it's true.
Yeah.
But that.
Ask me
So
about my Naruto
I think like going back to Marvel, one of the things they've done recently, they have given us. I'm okay. Too much.
It's okay.
Yeah, that wine.
That's
will
what we
hit you
do
quick.
here.
That one.
Yeah, go with it. Follow it.
They, Marvel, have given us movie quality TV shows to watch at home with like. I can't believe
We're spoiled now.
that we have this level of actor in a TV show. Like we've pulled them from this. So I'm super stoked because what do I want? What has COVID given me? The ability to watch amazing programming for the first time in my underwear at home. In my clean, freshly washed
Non-fudgies.
underwear.
I don't know what.
Yeah,
underwear
right,
is.
dude.
I
Right,
love it when
dude.
my wife goes to do the laundry and she's like, "You wore 2 pairs of boxers this week," and I'm like, "So what? Don't judge me. I sit in a chair all day.
These
I ain't
pants?
got time. Yeah,
A week and a half.
I'm telling you, man, I ain't got time to clean this shit. I'm doing her a favor."
These pants didn't have a hole in the leg when I started wearing them this cycle, but now they do.
Tell you, man, I just, you know what, man, I don't care. I'm comfy. I get up, I go to work. Maybe I shower, maybe I don't. I don't. Before I came here to where I did. I didn't
No, I have to shower because if I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna take a shower today. I think I'm just gonna get dressed. She's like,
between
you
January,
should take a shower though.
between January and April, showers are optional. When the humidity kicks in, I gotta shower. I'm a stinky fellow when it gets really, really sticky out.
I'm glad that you work with the weather in Michigan.
I adapt to it, man.
Yeah,
I move with it.
right. I think you bring up a really good point, though. Like the pandemic, I think with media, and I always talk about this, but one of the things that is a good highlight of this is that we did get spoiled with like being able to watch movies at home instead of going to the theater. And the number one thing that really hurt me during the pandemic was not being able to go out to the theater because that's one of my favorite things to do. But I think it has kind of made places and things like Disney Plus was created. We're drawing in big time. Oscar Isaacs, Elizabeth Olsen's are doing TV shows. Like these people are getting drawn to these TV series. And while we sit around and because we're fans of the product or we enjoy the series, and we're definitely going to be critical about all of these things, like, oh man, the costume didn't look like this or whatever arbitrary thing it might be. At the end of the day, we are still getting basically long ass movies at home that we can watch for under $10 a month. Netflix,
Yeah.
just throwing it out there for you. We are spoiled, and that's. I think sometimes it's good to stop and kind of think about that and smell those roses on that because, if this was 10 years ago when even the MCU was still just getting going or just halfway through or whatever it was, we would have never thought. Like never thought I would ever get a Moon Knight TV series.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
fucking amazing. And a
that is
Loki series, a Loki series that not only was it a Loki series, but a series that literally people keep forgetting is partly the reason why we got Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? Like is pushing this next phase as well too, and you wouldn't know that because maybe you didn't watch that. So yeah, it's really quite a time to be a fan of all of this, right? Like just any of this sort of thing, and be able to be enjoying it and sharing that with other people. So
my favorite thing out of the pandemic itself is honestly, and this stems from being a kid. When you go to a movie theater and you see a movie and you wait for it to come to VHS and it's a year,
Right.
Sonic 2 just came out on Paramount Plus the other day. That movie came out to theaters 2 months ago. We have now, because of the pandemic, these publishers, these production companies, we don't have to wait 6 months for it to come to Blu-ray. We don't have to wait 6 months for. I mean, dude, the movie comes to the theaters, and in 45 days, that shit's on digital.
Yeah.
And you don't have to wait anymore, dude. That was the most annoying thing growing up.
Yeah.
You go see Jurassic Park at the theater, and you're like, man, I can't wait to watch it at home. 11 months later.
Or
It's
well,
there.
yeah.
It takes forever to come to VHS. Now it's 2
Yeah.
months. If that.
Jimmy asked, do you think it's made it easier for studios to release shit films? And I have to say, like,
I think there is an argument to be made. There have been some movies that have come out, like Firestarter, for example, was a dud. That was a bad movie. And we look at some of the movies on Netflix. I mean, I thought The Bubble was a terrible movie, and I love Judd Apatow.
Oh, was it? I wanted to watch
that was. I mean, look, watch it before.
Don't.
I love his.
No, I'm not gonna watch it.
Watch it, make your own opinion, but don't watch it.
I love
bad.
Judd Apatow, but I thought that was a terrible movie. And then you look even at Red Notice with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds and
Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot. I mean, I watched that. And I was just like, this is weak. I mean, there are. I do think there are some concessions that were made with some of these movies. You're bringing in big stars.
We just watched the new Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum movie.
How is that? Lost
How
City?
is that?
Not good.
Not good.
Okay, we had a feeling.
It's not.
I
funny
called it.
But I mean,
at
that is
No.
but I mean, there are concessions that were
But
being
here's
made.
the thing.
They pay for the big actors, but the script not ideal.
Okay,
but maybe are we just more spoiled now because we
but
have more access
Here's
to
the
these
thing,
things?
though.
You know?
We watched it, and here is how I would answer that question. Like, we watched it at home,
Yep.
and that's what I have to say about like Morbius too. Like, you saw it, and it was, like, universally everybody was kind of like, no,
Right.
and then we were like, should we rent it? And that's how spoiled we are.
And then and then it gives you an opportunity because a
So we
month
have
later it
that
comes out
option.
on digital for you to
That's a
rent
good
it.
point.
And that's all I'm saying is like, yeah, maybe there's a lot of shit movies still out there, but you're like,
The accessibility is a little bit sooner.
right. And
Yeah, that's a
you're
good
not
point.
waiting 11 months to find out how shitty they are.
Maybe you find out right away.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like perception, right? Because like you're not as invested if you just
Right.
watch a movie
Right.
at home. Like, you're at home, you're in your underwear, you're eating your snacks at home, and you're not as invested. Whereas, like, if you go out to a movie and make it an experience, that's part of it. That adds to it.
Sure.
That can
Right.
make it seem like
Well,
a better
Morbius
movie,
didn't.
even though it's not.
And I,
Well,
and I think
Yeah.
we're also and I also think we're at a point when it comes to technology is you can create a movie experience at home.
Yeah.
You can get a 75-inch TV for a reasonable price. You can get an amazing surround sound system and build something downstairs. Now, is it IMAX? No. But you can still have a fucking dynamite experience at home and not have to go to the theater. You're sitting downstairs on your couch with your family. You got a big screen TV. And, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, to have something like that, it costs a lot of money.
Right.
But now, because it's available to everybody and people are trying to push it out and make that experience at home, you can get these experiences for relatively cheaper than it was 20 years ago. And I think production companies are like, you know what? We don't have to keep it in the theaters for 6 months and hope we make our money back. We can push this shit out on iTunes. We can push it on Hulu and Amazon Video where people will pay full price for it or will rent it for $20 and then hopefully they'll buy it for $20 a month later. I think it's easy for people to create a movie theater-like experience at home, even though fans of the theaters, we all know there's a difference.
Right.
But you can come pretty close to it now in terms of like accessibility and how cheap stuff is.
But the most important thing with that is when you create your own theater experience at home, is you can build your own soundproof room that you can put your
Boom.
children in. So that you don't have to listen to them
Yeah,
screaming.
you can take your kids to see Sonic and not piss
Full
everybody off.
circle.
in the theater.
Full fucking circle. Holy
Good
shit.
job.
Ah,
He
respect.
figured it out. He figured it
respect.
out.
And yes. You know,
Salud.
and at the end of the day, too, the one thing that I do like about seeing movies in the theater versus home is it's kind of Dutch door, because at home you can pause it, right? But at the theater, it's probably typically the fastest I move is getting to that bathroom and getting back
You get to
on a
that one
day-to-day
scene like,
basis.
okay, this is bullshit. I
Yeah,
need to go
like
now.
I got a bad fucking knee, but I tell you what, I pretend like it ain't hurting at that
It's
time.
like the most important guessing game you'll ever play in your
It
life.
really is.
Right.
Like, does this seem...
Is this a montage?
this a good-
I don't think anything's happening.
right, exactly. I seem to do pretty well with like judgment on that time, because I feel like the Marvel movies have kind of like, there's this, you get through this certain period of time and you can just kind of tell where it's like this down period, like, is this overall detrimental to the story?
Usually about maybe 2 days after a Marvel movie comes out, there's a site, I can't remember what it was. There are people that put out like when Endgame came out.
Day one.
Yeah,
They
you don't
put
have to
that
wait.
shit there going, here are the points where you could go to the bathroom.
Run
This is
those
bullshit
people.
you
I was
already
gonna
know.
say, am I the only one who pays for
No.
this service? Because I tell you what, before we go to any movie, including Marvel movies we host,
We
I'm
did
like,
not do that for Doctor
No, we
Strange,
didn't.
though.
We didn't. But we usually we pull up and here they're called P times.
There you go. Yep.
So, and someone else has sat through the movie and analyzed, here's when you can go pee. Here's
blowing
a
my mind.
4-minute pee break.
There's a
Amazing.
bullshit montage.
Here's a
Yeah.
2-minute pee break.
Oh my god.
Here's a pee break that if you fucked up and waited this long and you have to go, you can
You
go,
gotta
but
hustle.
you're gonna regret it.
You're gonna have to
Yeah.
hustle.
Yeah.
See, this is how, you know what, and this is
Yeah.
what you guys can do to make your movie experiences unique to
Yeah.
get people to come, because you know what, you can be like, you know what, I'll hold up a glow stick.
Oh,
That's
that's
a
a
good
good
idea.
time.
That's
Yeah, but then there's a line.
But then there's a rush.
Dude,
Right.
there's enough bathrooms at the theater where you can get through it.
Yeah.
Not-
Well, no, you know what? There you go.
Yeah.
Hold up a green one. This is a 4-minute pee break. Plenty of time to go.
Oh,
Yellow
color
is
code 'em,
okay,
okay.
you're pushing it. Red is you're in danger. You can go now, but you're gonna miss something if there's everybody goes.
I
I'm
like
just saying
it.
it's a service you guys
Yeah.
can provide. but I can't get it at the theater.
Hear me out, you guys could, you know, since it's an experience, we'd also get maybe like Koi's Comics themed catheters.
Or just do what I do. Just shit your pants.
That too.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought there was a funky smell.
Yeah. When you,
Yeah, that's
when
the
you hit
fudgies.
when you hit your 40s, shitting
That's
your
the-
pants is
that's-
a viable option.
that's-
Nobody judges you
that's-
anymore. It's just
That's the
expected.
fudgy. Brian, I want to point out
Oh,
what
he's
the
slightly older. That's
Bri-
okay.
yeah, he's slightly. Everybody's acceptable at that point. Then, Brian, you asked about VHSs earlier. I want to point out to you, like, don't worry, buddy. I'll send you a box of them. You'll
Yeah, you'll
yeah,
love those.
yeah, you like those ones. I hope you like beer. Nah, well.
All right.
Those are the same ones I probably found behind our bathtub when I was a child.
All right. I'm going to reel this
Gap
in.
between the bathtub
I'm
and
gonna
the
reel
Uncle
this in
Johnny
before-
was here for the weekend.
I did not age gate this video. We're going to reel it in right now.
whatever.
And we're going to wrap it up.
YOLO.
Steve, Brandy, again.
Oh,
it
God.
has been a thin slice of heaven
Oh, thank you.
coming here
You guys
and
are
doing a show at Koi's Comics. We appreciate you guys very much. We love your passion. We love your enthusiasm. Your insight on the Doctor Strange discussion was phenomenal. It's awesome to get
everything.
Everything. I mean,
Everything.
seriously, everything has just been. It's about perspective. It's about getting opinions, and you guys are just so fucking fun to be around. And we appreciate the hell out of you letting us break in here.
Yeah.
Forcing you guys to come over right away to play it off like this was planned, and sitting down and keeping it cool and talking with us. Seriously, you guys, thank you so
We
much.
appreciate you guys.
It's amazing. We've had
So
a blast.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You
Every
guys are
time.
welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
We
Anytime.
appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Well, wait, did you guys see The Watcher in Love and Thunder? Blanco, I don't know. Is Blanco serious as The Watcher?
Yeah,
in
I
Love and
didn't.
Thunder?
There's a
I didn't
statue.
notice
Well,
anything.
People are saying that
In the
yeah.
trailer, when Jane pops down and like I don't know what area it is, but you see the 4 statues there. One of them is the quintessential or something like that, I want to say, and then another is the Watcher, I think. Or if there's another Watcher,
We
I
have
haven't
to-
seen that.
We
Yeah,
have
like
to slow it down. We're
yeah,
gonna
they
have to
always
watch it
break
again.
those videos down, but
Interesting.
no, we super appreciate this. This is fun.
You guys
I
are
enjoy this.
awesome.
No, you guys are awesome. We're just here to help platform you because you're so awesome. We love doing this. This is This is
That's
literally
what we
like,
do, man. We just like
yeah,
to sit
I
around
just-
and
I
drink
can't
and
e-
talk about nerdy shit, and I
Yeah,
love it.
and
we definitely have to do this again for Thor.
Oh,
Yes.
dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And probably Stranger Things.
Absolutely. Like,
Hey, you know what? After July 1st, actually, you know what? Ooh, that's a monster episode because July 1st is when the final 2 episodes of Stranger Things comes out, and then a week later Thor comes out, and then we could come back here a week after that once Stranger Things has settled down. We've thought about it. Talk about Thor, talk about Stranger Things.
Be
That's a
pretty epic.
meaty episode right
Pretty
there.
that
epic.
sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, no,
Yeah.
we
Excited,
appreciate
yeah.
you guys letting us do this. This is literally like, I can't explain to anybody enough of this and how goofy this sounds, but how much of like an amazing experience for me personally as the little kid in me loves being able to sit here with all these comics like alone, just staring at me as well too. Just being able to do this is a great experience, but also more importantly, you guys being so fun and having these conversations with us. I get sick of dealing with this shit by myself all the time.
I fucking can't
This is
stand this guy.
this
It's
is
so nice having two
this is
human
so
beings.
amazing to have other
Next
perspectives
to
and
me.
great conversations. So no, this is fantastic. We appreciate you guys. You guys do so much again for just all of us here in the community, and we appreciate that. And I know you guys, I mean, clearly, like people sit here and will watch you guys talk about the new books that come out, and you guys are doing the things that you do, and it's just it's so fucking great to have that. So we really appreciate this so much. So
And
thank
I know
you.
a lot of the people in the B&E community locally are really excited about you guys doing something for Thor, and I mean, they're excited to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And
We're
it's
excited.
you don't have that shit in Saginaw. You don't
Yeah.
have that here. You know, that's usually stuff you hear about in the bigger cities and stuff. And you guys doing it here, and you're creating this, like I said, this community that just embraces it and brings people together and just have fun with it. And that shit is it's addicting. It's addicting, and we appreciate the hell out of you guys.
You guys are the best.
Oh,
Big
No, you
fans.
guys are the best.
yes.
Hey, you know
Yeah.
what? In the Saginaw area, you're damn right.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
the top-rated talk show
Absolutely.
in the Saginaw area,
Right.
and there's
There's
no
a
science
lot.
behind that.
There's a lot.
That's just that's all that matters.
That's
That's just what I know.
No, we appreciate you guys coming here and doing this because this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
this
this
makes
gives
our
us a
night.
chance to, you know,
To actually sit
talk
down and,
about this
yeah,
kind of stuff.
Yeah. We don't get it's funny to say that, but you know, you have so many conversations throughout the day. You don't get a chance to kind of sit down and go like, here's what we think.
Yeah.
And it's very like it fills all of those geeky moments that you
Yes.
want, all of that excitement, and you get to share that. So I appreciate you guys.
I like what
so
Jimmy
much.
says:
Yeah,
Coys
absolutely.
plus Oracle plus B&B. Oh
Ah.
man.
You guys been down to Oracle at all?
You know,
yes,
so that
that's where we had our first date.
that was our first date. Was that
Really?
Oracle?
That is
For
like
sure.
our unofficial beer headquarters.
that is like we're huge
So,
fans.
One of the things we want to try this summer, and I'd be curious to know if you guys are interested in joining us
Yep.
there.
Yes.
Wait, is Jimmy
Yes.
affiliated
Wanna
with
do-
Oracle?
Jimmy's one of their super fans. He's got a big
Jimmy's always there with
So
us. when we're
kind of like how
showing, he's
Darren
always
keeps the
there.
walls up probably half
Yeah.
year. That's what
Yeah.
Jimmy does at Oracle.
Okay. Awesome. And yes, our new kids area. I'm super proud of our new kids area. So please do bring your little
Trying to
ones
see it.
in.
It's right here.
And I promise we love kids, despite what these two say. But one
This
of the
is not
things
soundproof.
that we're
It's
excited
not.
about, if you remember being a kid and walking into the book fair at school, and
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like surrounded by like a ton of books and like pencils and stickers and all that, we're gonna do that for adults at the brewery. That's our hope. That's what we want to do. We want to bring a book fair full of comics, full of books, full of nerdy shit. Some of our like stickers that say "Go fuck yourself," but like all kinds of stuff to the brewery and
Approval.
have fun.
And then just
Yeah.
imagine that with two assholes doing a show live.
I
from
can't
there.
wait.
So to paint a picture for you, so we've as of December or January, we actually did, and we just haven't had the time recently, but we talked to the folks at Oracle, and they've given us approval if we want to do a show there on a Wednesday night.
Oh,
They would
that
let us
would be
do
so
that.
cool.
So if you guys want to team up with us,
Heck yeah.
team up with Oracle,
That would
Yeah.
be
we could
fantastic.
probably figure something else out, and that would be fucking gnarly.
That would be really
That would
cool.
be really cool. So
Yeah.
sign up, like we're
yeah.
yeah,
We're on
signed. We're on board. So
Yeah.
well, let's talk about that.
We're definitely game for that.
Absolutely.
Nice.
But hey, big shout out to everybody that tuned in tonight, whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook. We appreciate the support. The chat was rocking tonight. You guys brought the heat. Lots of good comments, lots of good opinions on Doctor Strange, Stranger Things, and everything else that we talked about tonight. Remember, if you check out Top Gun this weekend, make sure you come back on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever. Talk about it. Let us know your thoughts on it. We want to hear what you have to think. I think everyone's going to love it, man. If you love Top Gun, you're going to fucking love Top Gun Maverick. This has been an amazing experience. We're excited to do this again in the future.
Heck yeah.
We're excited about Thor, Love and Thunder. Tone, what else you got, man? The usual?
Yeah, if this is your first time here and you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to like Koi's Comics. Get them on Facebook. Like us on YouTube, Facebook, wherever it is, Twitch, wherever you're watching, whatever it is. Hopefully in the future we can keep continuing to entertain you as well too. But again, if you like what we do, not only just follow but share us. If you know somebody out there that you're friends with, family member, whoever it is, give them, say, hey, go check these guys out. You might enjoy them as well too. So that word of mouth is huge for us. Word of mouth is huge for places like Koi's Comics, locally, serving all over the nation. If you want to get things that they sell here shipped to you, check them out on, they're live on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, right?
Yep.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays. Make sure to check them out as well too. Typically they go live on Wednesdays prior to us as well. Get in there for a little bit of pre-show if you need to as well too. But honestly, it's so fantastic to be here. We appreciate all you guys as well too. But that word of mouth is huge for all of us. So get out there, like us, share us, and we will hopefully see you very soon.
Thanks, y'all, everybody in the chat. For Brandy, for Steve, this piece of shit down here, Mr. Fanboytone. I'm the Dude79. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great Memorial weekend. Be safe. Good night, everybody.